Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful and very cold British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
And baby, it's cold outside. Although, from looking at the forecast, Zach, I mean, it was cold here. Minus 17 felt like some of the evenings here in East Van, but I believe it was a lot worse out in Abbotsford's Way. How bad was it?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, dude, I chose to spend as little time outside as possible. So I didn't really...
Yeah, you're lucky you don't have a dog. A dog that's very picky as to where she goes poo.
I don't have a dog by choice, but we've told this to you before, right? I'm not an inside dog person.
No, I know.
If I
you're
had
a monster,
yard,
is basically what you've said. Yeah.
Well, if I had a yard and like a big property, then yeah, I'd love to have some animals that could have their own outdoor abodes. But here, I mean, here you couldn't leave it outside. The other animals outside here.
Yes, it would be there in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I need to get a look at my car because it's that my inside of my windscreen has been freezing. So I've obviously got some kind of little hole or leak somewhere that's letting it in. But it has been bitter cold. And in a recent show, we had a big chat about my retirement hopes and plans.
Oh, yeah.
I cut it all out for time because I had to get it into the 3-hour slot. Right. So no one heard that chat. But
it was a good chat.
It was good chat. But one of the things we mentioned, which I won't go into, was I've been considering PEI just because of what you can get, value for money, house prices out there. Massive houses for like 400,000 with lots of land, and I'd like to have multiple dogs and get lots of rescue dogs and grow vegetables and do all that kind of stuff.
Potatoes?
But yes, of course. PI, I think it's part of the contract you have to sign when you go there. Yeah. And I thought, can I hack the winters? I don't know. So I thought, this will be a good gauge. So early poll numbers are saying no. I don't think I could hack that. These 3 days of cold were bad enough.
Yeah, because what's it out there like right now? It's
actually, out in PI.
Yeah, is it bad there right now or no?
It's been slightly warmer there, but they're in the minuses a lot of the winter months. Now, I genuinely don't mind minus conditions. I quite find it refreshing, and often I actually find it nicer to be out in like -7, -8 than when it's just like 1 degree or 0. It seems colder at that. It feels colder than sometimes when it's -7. Like, I'm just back from walking the dog just now. It was lovely and refreshing. Didn't really need gloves on too much, and yeah, it was nice. But we'll see. So hope everyone's keeping safe anyway out there, and hopefully folk did not have horrendous commutes. I know one person that definitely did is a friend of mine, and she just had a journey from hell. 3 hours it took to go from Burnaby to Delta, and that was with hardly any snow. It's kind of crazy how this place just grinds to a halt. It's absolutely crazy. But it's cold here, but it's been warmer climes. The Asian Cup and the African Cup of Nations is underway this weekend. I haven't had a chance to watch any of it yet. I've seen some of the kits that the African teams are wearing, and oh boy, they are beautiful stuff. I always love the African kits.
I PVR'd something, but I have from the AFCON or a game or two, but I haven't watched it yet. All I know is that the Lebanon game, because Gabby Bitar got 10 minutes at the end of the game at the Lusail Stadium versus the mighty Qataris.
Yeah, that was fantastic for Gabby to get that, I've got to say. Now, the Asian Cup is live on YouTube in Canada.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah, so no one's picked
go on
up.
YouTube.
Yeah, no one's picked up the right, so it's free, legal, there to watch.
Sweet.
The African nations.
Is it like from the Confederation channel?
I think the Asian Cup's got its own YouTube channel.
Sweet.
So yeah, just search that. I added them all. Also, the African Nations Cup, it's beIN Sports have the right. So if you've got Fubo
TV, that's
you can see it on that, which I don't anymore. But there are ways to watch it with VPNs and YouTube as well on the official Nations Cup channel. So that is how I'll hope to do it. Also, the BBC are showing some games over in the UK. So there's certainly ways to watch that. So hopefully this week I will get a chance to watch some games, catch up with stuff that's happened. There was one scary incident as well. I kind of told you a little bit about this, but the Gambia had a horrific incident trying to fly there, where their plane had to make an emergency landing because it lost oxygen. I mean, the players obviously were very much concerned. Some of them had kind of passed out on the plane or fallen asleep, I believe. But looking forward to catching up with both those competitions over the next week. Last little thing I want to mention, just to kick off the intro here on the show. Something I've been thinking about for a while now. Our podcast is hosted on Podbean, and we can get ads put into it to try and make some money on the podcast. So I've shied away from it all these years. But from listening to a number of other podcasts, they're doing a lot of the ads at the start or maybe halfway through. So we might start adding some adverts at the start of the podcast just to see what it's like, if we make any money for that. So hopefully it doesn't spoil your enjoyment too much. It'll just be like a minute or so of ads. Obviously, if you listen to this on CITR, this ad's in between each parts. But we're also maybe looking to get some sponsors for the podcast as well. It's something I do on my East 5 podcast. You can sponsor an episode. So looking to explore if there's interest in doing that here. So if you're a business that wants to sponsor an episode of the podcast, we can do that for a decent fee per episode, per month. Or if you want to sponsor for a year, we'll come up with a package for that as well. That will involve having an ad at the start. We'll play an ad during the show as well. You'll get your ad played on CITR, and we'll mention it in all of our podcast blurbs as well. So if you are interested in that as a business, get in touch, aftncanada@hotmail.com or aftncanada on Twitter. Shoot me a DM.
We got to mention too that the more ad revenue that comes in, the more likely that Steve is to return.
Yeah, he's holding out for that increased contract. He's got to keep his mother-in-law happy. But any money that does come in, don't worry, it will get put to good use. Hosting costs, everything to do with the podcast and the website. It also keep me filled up with hot chocolate. Because, Zach, it's that time of year again. Hot Chocolate Boy is back.
Hot chocolate boy, he's never had one. Hot chocolate bad one. Hot chocolate boy.
Yes, Hot Chocolate Boy is back. The Hot Chocolate Festival, I believe it's the 14th year of the Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival, which really should be called the Greater Vancouver Hot Chocolate Festival now, because it's in 10 plus municipalities in the Lower Mainland. It kicked off on Saturday. It runs from January 13th to February 14th. I assume you've been out all weekend partaking.
No, not yet. I'm just Googling right now. Where is it in Abbotsford?
I don't know if it's made it all the way out to the interior, but It's certainly in Coquitlam and Port Moody and Surrey and places like that this year. So we went to our first one on Saturday afternoon. We went to Glenburn Soda on East Hastings in Burnaby. Now, I normally look to see when things open up. And I hadn't for this, and I forgot that Glenburn opened mid-afternoon. So we arrived at 2:30 to find that they didn't open till 3 o'clock. But what that meant was we were the third people to get their hot chocolate in the festival this year. And Glenburn Soda, if anyone doesn't know, it's on East Hastings in Burnaby, in the Burnaby Heights area. It's an old-fashioned kind of 50s-themed ice cream and soda shop. It's fantastic. We go there regularly throughout the year. We've been before for the Hot Chocolate Festival. This year, 2 Seinfeld-themed hot chocolates, $8 each. They've got one called, they should call it Round Teen. I don't know, you've watched Seinfeld. I don't know if you know.
Back in the day, I don't know if I've seen every episode, but back in the day.
Well, they should call it Round Teen. It's based on an episode where Jerry's doing stand-up and he's like, why do they call it Ovaltine? It's in a round container. It should be Round Teen. Yeah. So there's that, and it's Carabao malted milk chocolate infused with non-alcoholic whiskey flavour, served with 2 crispy malted chocolate chip cookies. So we didn't have that one, but we saw other folk have that. It looked nice. So Caitlin and me went for the Junior Mint. And that one is from an episode where Elaine's boyfriend's in hospital and Kramer drops a Junior Mint into him while he's undergoing surgery. So this is Carabao dark chocolate infused with cool mint and served with 2 peppermint triangles. And it was absolutely delicious. The triangles, perfect. If anything, 1 would have been enough, but never going to turn down 2. And it had a nice kind of refreshing zing to it, which kind of countered the hot chocolate. But best of all, they have a frozen chocolate-dipped whipped cream that's put on the top of the hot chocolate. And that absolutely made it. So I highly recommend it. Glenburn Soda, East Hastings. That was our first entry in this year's Hot Chocolate Festival for Hot Chocolate Boy. We had also planned to go to a second one today, Mercato di Luigi on 12th in Vancouver, but we never made it out. We're going to have the Toasty Tiramisu, which is a tiramisu hot chocolate served with a ladyfinger. And as you know, Zach, I love a good ladyfinger.
Oh, Michael.
And I also enjoy a good tiramisu as well. But we haven't made it out to that yet, but hope to make that out midweek. Peaked Pies is also one as a little taster that we might have for next weekend. But I'm excited. Hope you are too. Let us know if you got out. Shout out to Amanda Chow, Craft Queer, and Darnell Smith. Darnell Smith went to explore the Hot Chocolate Festival on Granville Island on Saturday afternoon to check out all 3 of the cafes that were taking part in the one day. He's a local football referee.
It looks like there might be one in Langley.
Oh, you have to get out.
And I'm supposed to be in Langley on Friday, I think.
I think we should
the Pie Hole.
Yeah, it's the Pie Hole. I'm going to go at the Burnaby one. They have
there's
2 good
multiple
ones.
Locations.
Yeah, I'm going to have the apple pie one there.
What's the other option?
Banana pie.
Oh, yeah, I'll go apple. Okay.
Oh, if you go there, we can compare that on next week's show. Exciting.
That would be like the most exciting thing we've ever done on the pod.
I think it might be. Anyway, that was the first installment of 2024's Hot Chocolate Boy.
Every girl yelling, wanting him to be the terror. Hot Chocolate Boy, he's a sensation. Hot Chocolate Nation, Hot Chocolate Boy.
That song by Beat Happening, former Arts of the Month here at AFTN, is going to be in my head all month. Hopefully it's going to be in yours as well. I think Caitlin's already fed up with me playing it. I've been playing it regularly and just walking around the house singing it, so I'm driving her a little bit crazy. But enough of the hot chocolate chat. Let's get into now the football chat, and in this part, for the rest of it, we're going to talk about the Whitecaps. News of the week. So, the Whitecaps have headed off to Marbella in Spain. They're there to the end of the month, January 31st. Their roster was announced this week. They'll be playing 4 games, which the club haven't officially confirmed, but internet sleuthing by Glass City and others has revealed that they'll be playing 2 Hungarian top-flight teams, Diosgyőri VTK on the 20th, and Puskás Academy on the 22nd.
Okay, cool.
Puskás, do you know the Vancouver connection?
I feel like I should know this.
You should. 1968, the year of my birth.
No, refresh my memory.
He's my father. No. Puskás played for Vancouver Royals in the NASL.
All right, okay.
Which is very fitting because we're paying tribute to the 50th anniversary of the Whitecaps NASL in part 4 and all year. But yeah, Puskás Academy on the 22nd, and then Norwegian top-tier side FK Haugesund on the 30th. And there'll be one other game in there. We just haven't found out who it is yet. But I'm sure the Whitecaps will be announcing that soon. One thing, though, they did announce is there's a new player wearing Whitecaps blue and white. Mm-hmm. The Gazelle, Fafa Picault, now a Whitecap. 32, he's 33 next month, so another veteran. Haitian left winger, joins as a free agent after being with Nashville last season. 313 career club appearances for Picault. He has scored 67 goals, added 31 assists. In MLS alone, 48 goals and 24 assists from 202 MLS appearances, including playoffs. Last season, though, didn't quite light it up for Nashville. 5 goals, though, and 1 assist from his 29 MLS appearances. 20 of those were starts. But across all competitions for Nashville, 9 goals, and that included scoring in the semi-final and the final of the Leagues Cup. So rising to the occasion. Signed a 1-year deal with an option for the Whitecaps for 2025. Axel said of the signing, Fafa has been a consistently strong attacking player throughout his time in MLS. Not only that, but he brings tremendous character to our team. His experience and ability to bring a different dimension to our attack will be invaluable as we navigate our biggest season in MLS yet. My favourite quote from Fafa, I'm excited to play for Mr. Vanni.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
I like that. But I like it. It's a good addition. It's another veteran. I know there's a lot of folk not being as excited because they're looking at feeling that he's maybe his best days are behind him. But again, don't see him coming in as the guy that's starting every game. Certainly an exciting option off the bench. He has done it at this level. He's performed regularly in MLS, and 9 goals across all competitions last year, not to be sniffed at. And it does add another dimension to the team because Vanni's famously said he doesn't like playing wingers. We've now signed a winger, so this is another little string to their bow.
That was going to be my one question for you. Is my recollection of watching Fafa Picault play in MLS is that he plays typically quite wide up top, which is not what Vanni typically wants. So
I do wonder if he maybe sees him as a kind of wing back, maybe. I hope he's not trying to try and convert him.
Yeah, he's the new
Dahomey.
Yeah, Dahomey. Yeah,
yeah. I'm hoping it's not that. That thought did run through my head, I've got to say.
Yeah. I'd be worried if it's that. If it is to actually have another legitimate option, then again, it's interesting. And like we talked about earlier, Vanni has been in his reflecting on how to improve and move forward this year as a coach tactically and all that. He has talked about, wanting to be willing to change things up within games and stuff. So I guess Picault is someone who does give another option, right? So it's a really interesting signing. Yeah. I think that people, I've seen a bunch of the comments of people like, oh, this, we're signing a 36-year-old now, 33, soon to be 33-year-old, and this is not what we want. Like, we need better, younger, or in their prime kind of MLS veterans, not at the end of their prime. But
the problem with that, though, is so does every other club.
Oh, well, yeah, of course, so does every club. But both of these signings so far, I think I think people should view them with really a lot of optimism because I do think they can be the signings that Vancouver has needed in previous seasons. Plus, when you think about all the fixture congestion and all the games, one of the things they could have used last year, I think, was more veterans that Vanny could have relied on for more minutes in more situations.
Yeah.
And now he has more options to do that. So
I mean, how many times did we look at who was on the bench and it's like,
Yeah.
well, who do you want to bring on to change the game when
Yeah.
we're behind? And it's like, now, if you've got a Kreilach, if you've got a Picault on the bench, it's like total faith in bringing those guys on. Now, yeah, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and it's all going to be about, can they perform, can they fit into the plan? But it's such an exciting mix because we know what he can do. And like he's played in Italy, he's played in the Czech Republic with Sparta Prague, St. Pauli in Germany as well. He came to MLS in 2017. He's played with Philly, Dallas, Houston, Nashville. He's got 2 caps for the US national team and then made a switch last year and made 5 appearances for Haiti. He's played 8 times against the Whitecaps, scored 2 goals, once for Philly, once for Houston, grabbed 1 assist as well. Nashville play a very different style to the Whitecaps. It's under Gary Smith, sometimes it's like a Carol Robinson style game. It's counter-attacking. It's not the prettiest football to watch. It's built on defence first. Successful at times as well, but it maybe wasn't best suited. I think I'd like to look at his time more at Houston as how he might fit in here. He was their MVP in 2021. He was the Players' Player of the Year that year as well. So I definitely think this is an intriguing signing. And until we see how Vanny's going to utilise it, how he fits in the team. But if you imagine him on the wing, sending those balls into the box to White, maybe Golden the other wing, sending it in as well. Exciting if you were looking at that. Or Kreilach in the middle. I get the hesitation. I get the desire to have younger guys. But I've been, for years, crying out that we need some older heads in there to settle this team down. I think that's now what we've got.
Yeah. I'm not I'm optimistic for them that this will work out. I'm not quite as optimistic as Kreilach, and that's more based on I just have appreciated Kreilach more over the years. But I think in general though I am optimistic, and I think he will add, and he even just based on age and maybe durability and whatever, he might add even more than Kreilach adds, right?
Yeah, very possibly. I mean, if he's whipping those balls in and White is in the right place at the right time and taking those chances.
So this is not something that's going to get people out of get people excited, but I do think that they'll look back on it as I think there's a high probability they'll look back on it as a very shrewd signing.
Yeah. I think Vanny and Axel are building a very good MLS squad for attacking in all these competitions. But we'll get more into it closer to the season. They still need a lot to happen. Not all in their hands to be a top 4 side, but they've got the makings there right now of a squad that can certainly be a top 4 side. And there'll be more additions coming. And they've got an interesting trialist in the pre-season camp just now. This was kind of murmured and mooted on Twitter, and then it was kind of confirmed when the roster came out. A Canadian, a centre-back, 6'2", right-footed, 24 years old, Bilal Halbouni. Not a guy I've known a lot about. I've since subsequently read about him. He was rumoured way back 2021 or 2022. He was kind of linked to the Whitecaps back then. But he's Canadian-born, Syrian international. He's played in the 5th tier of German football since 2020. First with Werder Bremen 2, and then most recently with FC Magdeburg 2. Not a team I'm overly familiar with there. I say he's a Syrian international. He made 1 appearance for Syria against Jordan in 2022 and blew his ACL in the game, and that's what he's been coming back from. So I know little about him. I think it's probably more a WFC2 signing, when you consider there's a lot of WFC2 players over in that preseason camp, I think that's what they're looking at. Have a look for him, and it's like, hey, why not? Exactly what we're needing for WFC2.
Yeah, I would say so. Fifth division. That's where Levier Corbin started his foreign odyssey was fifth division Germany in 2013. Werder Bremen too, obviously know them, and I forget if
I think they're in the fourth tier now as well, but I think he left them just before they got promoted.
Matterberg's first team is not in a great spot, if I remember correctly, from this year or last year. But yeah, so I think you're right. I think this screams more of a WC2 type of potential and then from there it's like see how things play out.
And it's great to see the WFC2 guys over in Spain as well, training with him. Great to see Jay Herdman back after that horrific injury that he had at Swangard. Yeah. And we'll hopefully catch up with Jay soon as well.
Can I ask you about one other person in the squad there?
Sure.
Thomas Assal has been invited.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we should probably mention about that. So he's still recovering, and the Whitecaps feel a duty to look after him and give him those minutes, and I think that's very nice. I think, again, this goes back to what we've spoke a lot of in the last couple of years. The Whitecaps are treating their players so well, and it's like, we want to put you in the best way to succeed. We know you need to move on, you need to be a starter somewhere. Until you get that club sorted out, until you've got your full rehabilitation done, we will involve you with the team, with the squad. And hey, who knows, if no one else comes in for him, maybe they do re-sign him. Who knows what's down the line. But no, I thought that was nice that they did that. And it gives them an extra body as well, if you're being brutal in that regard, because they obviously need as many goalkeepers for the games and stuff. But no, I thought that was nice that they're doing that and sticking by Thomas, who we've both got a lot of time for, and really hope he lands on his feet and gets a good deal out of this.
Do you know what his timeline is for being fully fit?
I think he's close. I think it's just getting, he needs to get some match fitness in. Okay. And stuff. So, when I spoke to him in October and I said, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing really well. He was a bit ahead then. Yeah. Got him in the press box, but just chatting away to him. So, yeah, hopefully we will see him sign with a club soon. Whether that is in Canada, in CPL, or whether he's going to go elsewhere, I guess we'll find out. Maybe he impresses in this camp and ends up somewhere over in Europe as well, which he obviously can do. Final little bits of Whitecaps news for the week. The kickoff times for the Whitecaps 17 home games have been confirmed. I like this. Small improvements, right? I think quite a big improvement, really, because it's a good feeler as well to gauge the attendances. So 5 kickoffs will be at 4:30 p.m, spread across March, April, August and October. 12 kickoffs at the 7:30 p.m, 7:38, 4:38, I'm sure we can say it is. Yeah. And they will mainly be in late spring and summer. So in the summer, ideal, because the kids are off as well. So I like a lot of this. I like that the league and Apple have listened to clubs like the Whitecaps saying we need to have earlier kickoff times. And now they're going to have the metrics to show, well, this is what we've drawn for these games. This is why we feel it's important to have these kickoff times. So the 5 4:30 kickoffs are going to be the season opener against Charlotte on Saturday, March 2nd. TFC's visit on April 6th is another. The second home game against RSL in March is another one of those, as is LAFC's visit in August. And the last home game at home to Minnesota on October 5th is the 5th and final 4:30 kickoff. I think it's a good selection. I think it's great for fans with families that want to bring the kids along and don't want a late night. Obviously, fans on the island and fans in the interior can make the journey and get home the same day if they so choose without having to get a hotel. And it's announced early enough that they can get all these plans made. So, all in all, Zach, I think this is excellent.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Axel and the Whitecaps brass will be able to then take some empirical data back to Apple and to MLS and say, hey, you made this concession for us, and this is how it helped. And I think it's nice for them that this is also tied into a year where there's this heightened excitement in the league, but also locally in Vancouver with, Lionel Messi playing in Miami and coming to town for a match. So I think there's even though that's not one of the matches, obviously, but
No, that's one of the 7:30 ones, because every
right.
Messi game's going to be like they
Yeah.
want that on in as prime a spot as possible.
But his coming to the league has made it so that there's more season tickets and more match tickets being sold in every city where he's going to play, and there's just a heightened excitement about the league, right? In a similar but different way to when Golden Balls landed on these shores,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
it's nice that that's coinciding with this. Hey, let's give us some of these dates so we can prove it to you. I think that it's how that can work out, can really be beneficial for them in the long run.
Well, talking of season tickets and ticket sales, the season ticket sales are going really well right now. So I reached out to the club just to try and find out a little bit of questions that I had. There is a cap set on season ticket holders. So they've got a set number of season tickets that's going to be available. Now, if the demand was there, I'm sure that cap can get increased. But right now, there is a cap on season ticket sales.
Do we know what that cap is?
Not yet.
Okay.
So some sections are already sold out. So general admission is sold out.
Yeah.
Pitchside club is sold out, and the landing is sold out. So that's some of the more expensive ones as well. So the club also announced Monday morning that they have a golden era pack that is now available, or is going to be available, starting at $247. The 4-match pack includes the home opener, the 50th anniversary match against Austin on May 4th, the inaugural match with Messi and Inter Miami later on in May, and the playoff rematch against LAFC in August. So 4 very good games, and I think fantastic games to pick as well, because you've got the home opener, which is also the season opener, and as Axel spoke about last week, it's a proper home opener because it's the first game of the season for them. So that's a big game, and they didn't necessarily maybe need to include that one because that usually gets good sales anyway. But that's a good one to have in the pack. The 50th anniversary match, you want a good crowd out for that because it's going to be a special occasion. It's the day before the actual anniversary, so it's as close as you could get. And I just think that's going to be a wonderful occasion. Haven't heard exactly what's happening with it, but you hope they can get some of the players back, and it's just going to be... I'm so looking forward to it, as you know from us doing all this on the show and the website this year around the 50th anniversary. The Miami game is obviously a natural one, and LAFC, because of the rivalry last year, it's great as well. So outside of season memberships, the Golden Era Pack is currently the only way to secure tickets to all 4 of those matches. Now, single match tickets for games at BC Place will be available at a later date, but if you want to guarantee your seat to go and see Messi, you either need a season ticket or you need one of these Golden Era packs. Now, a couple of things on this. First of all, I love that the Whitecaps have done this. We actually spoke about it on last week's show. I wanted them to do a package like this so that they can get fans along to the other games. Partly to make more money, because it's like... You know these tickets are going to get scalped. So it's like Whitecaps may as well make as much money out of these fans that don't normally come along to watch the Whitecaps as possible. But what I want is for them to turn some of those fans into Whitecaps fans. And the best way of doing that is to have a great atmosphere and a great game against Miami. If they can beat Miami, all the better. But then get them along to these other games. Now, yeah, there's a chance folk might buy tickets for the 4 games and only go to the 1. The hope is that they'll get hooked. And I commend the Whitecaps for doing this. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, kudos to them for this. It's encouraging to hear that season ticket sales are going well and that they're using opportunities like this to continue to grow on where they've been over the last few years. And that only bodes well for them, right?
Yeah. The only thing I would say about these 4 games, I would maybe have missed off the home opener, but I can see why they want a good crowd for the home opener. And I would maybe have chucked in the first Leagues Cup game, because you know that's going to be a low attendance, just
Right.
to get the sales for that. But ultimately, I mean, I don't care. I really like that they've done this. What I would say though as well, like the 4-game pack starts at $247. Now, right now, you can still pick a season ticket up from $400 in one of the corners. So if you're considering this golden era pack, get the season ticket for a little bit more, because not only do you get more than the 4 games, you're going to get the whole season. You're going to get Apple TV thrown in as well, the MLS Apple TV side of it, which is a value of about 130 to 150 anyway. So to me, the no-brainer would be, if you're going to get one of these packs, get the full season ticket. And if you can't go to every game, you can maybe sell some of your tickets, donate them to the charity fund for the less privileged to go away, anything like that. So, I mean, that would be my suggestion just now. If you're tempted by this golden era pack, go for the full season ticket, because it's better value for money. And trust me, if you're on the fence, if you think, I don't know if I want to go for the whole season, if the Whitecaps play as entertaining and as attacking as they've done, and as it looks like they're going to do, you'll want to be at all these games. So I know I'm sounding like a ticket rep here, but I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I mean, value, it makes sense, right? If you're going to spend $250 on 4 games, you might as well spend $400 on 18 or whatever it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it just makes total sense. So really like the club have done this. So, I mean, the sales are doing good, and I just look forward to those numbers going up. Something else that is also doing good, Zach, just to close this section off, tickets went on sale on Wednesday for the Tigres game over in Langford, and amazingly, the grandstand is almost already sold out. They've got limited inventory left in that. There's about 2,000 plus seats left in the East, West and Pitside GA, as well as 5 premium suites still available for that Tigres game. I mean, that's fantastic, because you're looking at, this is maybe around about 4,000 tickets already sold for this game.
That's great.
So if you are wanting to get over to that game in the island, A, get your tickets soon, and B, get your hotels booked soon as well, because they are certainly going to book up. But yeah, everything trending in the right direction right now for the Whitecaps. Looking forward to this season, and looking forward to seeing Fafa Picault on the pitch and Damir Kreilach. And I got a chance to sit down with a Croatian midfielder this week for an in-depth chat about his career and a lot more as well. So we'll be back with that and our song this episode from our album of the month after this.
Hi, I'm Damir Kreilach, and you're guys listening to AFTN Soccer Show. It was a pleasure to be here, and hopefully you guys are gonna have like a great time listening to me. Thank you.
There are so many traps been laid. How can you avoid one? Put your foot down in a moonlit glade. Snap your ankles broken. I don't know how decisions get made, which of the turns to take. It doesn't seem to matter what plans are laid. You can't tell when the wave will break. So many ways. So many ways. There are so many colourful rays. How are you going to choose one? Bright lights look alright from here, but seduction has to be wrong. I don't know how decisions get made, which are the turns to take. It doesn't seem to matter what plans are laid. You can't tell when the wave will break. So many ways. So many ways. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode's song from our album of the month for January from 1986, Manchester band James. It's their debut studio album Stutter. That's the third track on it, So Many Ways, released as a single as well in that year. A song all about the many different paths, decisions and routes that we can all take in our lives. A song is one of the standout songs on the album, and it was a song that the record company Sire really wanted to push as a single and felt it could be a big hit. Ultimately, it just reached number 143 in the UK charts, and that probably, I think, led to some of the disgruntlement between the record company and the band. And it's an album full of great songs, a lot of experimental songs, experimental sounds as well, not your kind of normal song structure in a lot of them. And I could see why a record company would think that one's maybe got the most mainstream appeal, and it is a fantastic song. But the band felt there was stronger potential singles on the album that ultimately were not released. And we played one last week, Black Hole, that I think's a tremendous song. And we'll have another one next week, Johnny Yen, that is a song that the band also really wanted to release as a single. But great album. Hope you're enjoying the songs from it so far. Go and check it out if you haven't already. You can find it in all the usual places. It did feature in The Guardian's 1001 albums that you should hear before you die, so make sure you get on that. But So Many Ways was the name of the song there, and of course there are so many ways to sign players in Major League Soccer, all the different transfer mechanisms, making it very unique to a lot of other leagues in the world. And very unique in the fact that we have Garber bucks, which of course the other leagues do not have, and thankfully have not followed suit. But free agency is one of the ways that you can get players in MLS, and it's been a mechanism that the Whitecaps haven't fully explored or been able to explore for various reasons that we've mentioned before and won't go into. But the one big signing that they made before the year was out did come from free agency. 34-year-old Croatian midfielder Damir Kreilach signed after 6 seasons with Real Salt Lake, came to Utah in 2018, joining them from Union Berlin, the German Bundesliga club. Had 5 seasons in Germany with them, scoring 33 goals there, 56 goals and 25 assists with RSL from 2018, RSL captain as well for the past 2 seasons, and an all-star in 2021, where he got 16 goals and 9 assists in his career year. As we've talked about in the last 2 shows, a player I've admired greatly since he made the move to MLS, and it's fantastic now to see him as a Whitecap. Cannot wait to see how he fits into Vanni Sartini's plans. He can play in a variety of the forward positions, so how Vanni and the club plan to use him is certainly going to be something for us to keep an eye on as the season gets underway. Has struggled recently from a back injury, but feels that he's back to full fitness. Axel Schuster, in our interview last week with him, spoke about how the rehab's been complete and he feels better now than he did last year and ready to go. He's still got the hunger, he still wants to perform, and now he's got a chance to do it as a Whitecap. And I got a chance to catch up with Damir last week as he headed into Vancouver before the team jetted off to Marbella for pre-season training. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, and enjoy our chat with Damir Kreilach. Hi, good morning, Damir. It's nice to chat to you. I've been a long admirer of you in this league, so it's nice to finally get a chance to talk to you.
Thank you. The same.
So I'm from Scotland, so this will help you get used to Ryan Gould's accent.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm used to it now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to just have a little chat with you just about coming to Vancouver, but also your career and stuff as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
first thing, Damir, welcome to Vancouver. It doesn't always rain here. It does get nice, as I'm sure you know. But
Like last couple of days when it was nice. So
yeah, why Vancouver? As a free agent, I'm sure you had a lot of different options. And what was it about Vancouver that really attracted you to come here?
To be honest, I had, first of all, I would say that I had amazing 6 years in RSL. They offered me the contract for next year, and basically just, my role would be a little bit different than the previous years, to have playing less playing time, and, to help the players. And I would be kind of situational player, which means, I wouldn't play like that much. And then basically, when I have like first conversation with coach and with Axel, so then from the first, second I saw, okay, Vancouver wants to have me there, and that I'm gonna have chance again, to play, and at the end of the day to have the role off and on the field, which it's gonna be, help the team. I mean, teammates on the field, help teammates off the field. Because Vancouver has a pretty, I would say, young team. And they wanted me here, as a veteran, to help the club grow, to help the young talents players to grow. And I mean, my goal and my wish was, as well, to have competition that, I'm going to be able, to play again. How much, no one knows. At the end of the day, this is the coach decision, but just to have like healthy competition that still I can, prove myself, because especially, missing 2022 because of the injury I had. And thanks God, last year I got back playing, overall, like 30 games. My body still says, okay, you can do it, and because of that, I'm hungry. I'm hungry to keep on training, to keep on playing. And because of that, Vancouver was, the best option, and, I'm so glad, so happy to be here, even, leading the conversation with the all employees of the club from Axel as a GM, from Queen as a director, from with the coach and with the, I mean, media staff, just over the phone, and the players. It was something special. It was great. And then it just I didn't, to be honest, think too much. And I mean, with my family, we just got decision that Vancouver is gonna be new adventure, and it's gonna be a great challenge for all of us to give, at the end of the day, my best, for Whitecaps.
I know it was a tough decision for you to leave RSL, and you put a really heartfelt message out on your Instagram calling it the most difficult decision of your life, and it was heartbreaking. You had 6 really good seasons there, for not even just on the playing side, but for yourself and your family. How do you look back at your time in Salt Lake City?
No, I think, Salt Lake City is it's always remain in my heart, the club that I'm gonna support, always, and carry the club on my heart, because, coming from the Europe, from Union Berlin, to RSL, I couldn't imagine, from the day one that everyone wanna welcome me this way. The same is happening now, to be honest, in Vancouver, and, after all these great moments I had with RSL in 6 years, is just like, that's something, you can forget. And it's not only on the field and off the field with the club. This is as well like, I mean, outside of the club, to meet the friends for the rest of your life, to hang with the people that before you didn't know who they are, and now they're like your family, and this is something special that's even bigger than football, than soccer, because after career we have another like whatever 40 years of living the life, and just like, to meet the friends for the rest of your life, it's something special. And yeah, as I said, it was like 6 incredible years that I went through, and as well, it was the heartbreaking decision to leave RSL, especially because of the fans, because we have special relationship with the people in the club, with the teammates, all the teammates I went and I played with in these 6 years. And yeah, but I just wanted to give myself the another opportunity, to keep on playing, to keep on training, because I know how much I love, this sport. And as I said, always, this is for me privilege, to still be here, especially in the age I am, and I always say the age is only one number. To be honest, it depends how your body feel, because at the end of the day, I know how much I invest in my body during 16 years playing as a professional, and because of that, I know that I still can prove myself and help, Whitecaps, as a player, as a person, off and on the field.
Well, I'm 55, so you're a young person to me.
Yeah, but some people, they said, we are young, but the sport we are doing, we are also, but this is all doubtful, So, but
Yeah.
I would say, the thing is that I'm so grateful the chance Vancouver gave me, and that they believe in myself, and because of that, my basically family and I, we are so happy to be here to get the thing started. I had the opportunity last 2 days to meet all the teammates, staff, employees of the club, and as I said, they welcome me on a great way. And just looking now forward to help the team, because Whitecaps, they had a great last season, great result. Unfortunately, they lost on some unfortunate way against LAFC in a playoff. But now it's up to us even rise this level, even set the scale a little bit higher and even be better this season.
What made you come to MLS to begin with? Because, I mean, playing over in Germany, a lot of players at your age want to stay in Europe. What was it about coming to America that really attracted
you? To
you?
be honest, the story was that the Craig Weibel, now he's the current GM of Seattle. He was in RSL. He wanted to sign me in 2017 in summer. And then, I told him that at this point we were fighting as well for the Bundesliga promotion, with the Union Berlin. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, we didn't make it. And then he came to my agent, and then he said that in February 2018 he would like to sign me again. So then I said, maybe it's right thing, to go to MLS, because even before I said, I heard a lot of great things about MLS as a league, as an organization, about so many clubs, because I have some friends already, playing there. And, it was as well, to be honest, tough decision, because I had a very, I played so far in my career only for 3 clubs, and Whitecaps is the 4th club. I played as a professional 5 years back home in Rijeka, special club. Union Berlin, it was special club. It was heartbreaking decision as well to go to Salt Lake, and, in Salt Lake, special club as well. So looking forward that Whitecaps is going to be, the same story. And, at this point I was 20, almost 29, and it was as well that, my playing time, basically, it was so many rotations. And, I talked to my family, especially when you see someone that really wants you. Then for me it says, okay, maybe it's right thing to do it. And thanks God we did it, because what's happened after that is just that's something I'm never gonna forget, what I achieved with RSL.
Taking you way back then, you were obviously born in Vukovar. I've been to Croatia, but I've only been to Dubrovnik, so that's the only place that I've been to. But it's a beautiful country. But I know, when you were born, the war was then coming quite soon after that.
Yeah,
I know that your family had to flee from the city, gradually moving further and further west as the war went on. you were obviously very young when the war broke out, and you've spoken before that you don't have a lot of memories of it.
Yeah.
But as you were then sort of growing up in the aftermath of it, how difficult was it to try and just have a normal life and learn to be a kid and just play football?
Basically, the thing is that at this point I was only, I would say, a year and a half old, as a baby. And, I know, and basically, it was so hard time for my parents, because, we lost everything, because of the war and all this stuff. So we have to move. My dad stayed in war, and it was, like, heartbreaking story, but not only for us, for the whole families, at this point, and 1991, but at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and you go, overall in life, you go through so many hard, times and decisions and everything. But then, my parents, they made it, they did it, they put us on a feet again, like my brother and myself and my family. And, after that, you just go step by step, and, you are getting back to the normal life. And, this is how we made it. And, even at this point, when you think a little bit deeper about everything, then even you have such a much more respect to the people around you, and the people are treating with so much respect. And at the end of the day, this is how you're gonna be treated as well. So
I remember reading an article years back when you had not long been at RSL, and you talked about playing street soccer and just the joy that you had of playing in that.
Yeah.
It's like, do you still look back as if that was just yesterday, just fond memories of that time?
Yeah, definitely. We were like, basically after the war, they they transfer us to some hotel in Rijeka Ropatia, where so many families, just moved there because of the war. So, and for us at this age, when I was like 4, 5, 6, 7, this age, young, it was only whatever, kindergarten, school, and then afternoon it would be playing soccer on the street, and this is how basically you fall in love, with the sport you like the most. And in my case, it was soccer, it was football, And when you said this, I have now memories in my life, and I can't believe it was whatever, almost like 30 years ago. Yeah. So, and this is, something special that you go through this childhood, and then you never know what's gonna be. But when you go through the academy, and then you realize, okay, something could be, then even you're more focused on yourself, just to try to make this happen, to become a pro and to enjoy, the life. And as I mentioned before, for me, it's a privilege to do what I love to do, because I would say 1% or 2% people overall in general in the world doing what they love to do. And because of that, I appreciate, what I'm doing, playing soccer, because this is for me passion. This is for me something that I love the most. So, beside my family, this is, the second thing that, I can't go without.
Because of everything that you went through in your childhood, is that kind of the driving force behind like Kreilach's Corner and what you did with RSL and the Kreilach's Corner and the tickets for the kids? It was wonderful, and it's it's a special thing to give back. And because of what you went through, did that kind of like spur you on to do that?
Yeah, definitely. To be honest about Kreilach's Corner, I have to give all the credit to the people from the RSL and Kyle Schroeder, who is the director of RSL Foundation. He came up to me with this idea, and I didn't even think 1 second. I said definitely yes, because I know through what hard time my family, went, and so many people. Then because of that, I didn't just, think 1 second. And for me, it was like so reasonable that, of course I'm gonna do it. And it would be, to be honest, for me, a honor and privilege to do it, to help the people, to enjoy the game, to support the team, to be, every other week at the stadium, to that, this thing became as a ritual, because you know how it is in, Scotland, in, in Europe, Germany, England. I mean, to watch your favorite team, that's ritual, that's something you can go without. And because of that, I mean, it was for me like just normal, pad that not I should or I must do, I would like to do. And I did this, with all of my heart. And basically me and my wife decided like this pretty quickly that for sure we would like to do it. But as I said before, all credit, to the people from RSL, for Kyle, to, have an idea about it.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. It was just such a great scheme. So good to see you doing that. Going back then to your own youth, when did you know that you wanted to be a professional footballer? When did you know that you had what it took to be a professional footballer?
Yeah, in academy, this is a little bit, to be honest, a little bit tricky, and, you came to some age like 13, 14, and basically, you have friends, you have coaches saying they are good, they are not good, or whatever. But then, it is so much talent, basically. And I always said, like, talent is something else. But, to have the real goal, real path, to be disciplined, to work hard, I mean, it's always going to be the talent. And in my generation, was so many talents, but unfortunately, the life gets you something else. But on my mind, it was, that, okay, if I get there to under whatever, 15, 16, 17, and, I joined a couple of times the first team, okay, it shows me that, like I have some quality, I mean, I'm not like the complete player, not at this age, but when you show that, sometimes you join the first team, then you said to yourself, okay, my goal is, to become a pro, now I have the pad just working hard, to listen for some advices for the older players, coaches, teammates, especially at this point, parents, brother, have a huge role, to stay focused. Because, like in this age, 16, 17, 18, like I would say the street can get you something somewhere, And I mean, in this case, maybe it's not going to be soccer, it's going to be something else. But, I knew it exactly what I wanted, and, I had like clear path that I want to became a professional. And as I said, at the end of the day, I'm so grateful that I've done it.
Bringing you right back up to date then and coming to Vancouver, we know about the back injury that you had, and I've had back injuries for about 15 years, and it's just something that I can't get rid of. Thankfully, I don't play football, so that it's not that big a problem. But I know it's a tough thing to get over. And I spoke to Axel last week, and he mentioned that you'd done your rehabbing on turf under the dome in Utah. So being on turf, you don't feel is going to be an issue for the back problem. Do you feel that you're now kind of fully recovered from that?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is that I got injured on April 17, 2022 in a game against New York CFC. Then first 6 weeks we try, to get this done without surgery. And then with the, team, medical team in RSL, we decided to do surgery. So surgery I've done like on June 2nd, 2022. And then 4 months later, basically it was around October 15th, 20th, I was already, training with the ball on the turf, and the thing is, I mean, it wasn't like, to be honest, the best decision, but I mean, we know how is Salt Lake, let's say from November 1st till April 1st, it's hard to be on a regular grass, And, I was training, to be honest, like 5 months straight on a turf. And, of course, sometimes we just managed, the loading, the trainings and everything. But then like coming into 2023, I was, completely healed from March or April, and I mean, thanks God, 2023, I had like whatever, 20 games as a starter, 12 games coming in, and now I'm completely healed. So.
Well, that's fantastic, and we're glad to have you here. Just last couple of things.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
We know how good a player you are because the Whitecaps are one of the teams that you've scored the most against in MLS. So it's nice to have you now on our side and not scoring against us.
Yeah.
But what do you feel you can offer this team? Like Vanny and Axel, they've spoken about how you can play as a forward, you can play as a 10, you can play as an 8. Are you just happy to be playing whatever role Vanny wants you to play?
Exactly, and I mean, from our first conversation I had with Vani, it was exactly why I had like very good feelings, about Vancouver, about Whitecaps. The same when I talked to Axel, and I said as well to the coach, no one, even I'm coming to Vancouver, no one need to promise me any minutes, anything. I just want to have competition that, I show up myself in a training, and then as it's everywhere in the world that the coach is gonna get decision. If it's gonna be that I'm gonna, be on the bench, if it's gonna be that I'm gonna start, I'm gonna always support the teammates, And I don't like, to be honest, talk about like my positive things, as a player. This is more up to you guys, to rate me as a player. But the thing is, I just want to help the team, off and on the field. What role is going to be, this is then up to coach, if it's going to be from the beginning or, coming into the game on be from the bench, just because what I saw last year, that here is so much talent in this team, and Whitecaps had, as I mentioned before, great season, but still I think, as looking from outside, like example last year, that is so much, space to improve and to be better, which they did in the last couple of years. And this is what I'm gonna try to help, to help the team, with a great mentality, and then helping the team with goals, assists, and whatever coach staff would ask for.
And just the last thing, really, you've been here a few times visiting with RSL. Have you ever had a chance to really explore the city? And obviously, I know you're heading off to Marbella now for a while. So are your family already up here, or is that going to all happen once you get back from Spain?
So we had we had great opportunity the last 2-3 days to see the city, to explore the city, because we arrived here, my wife and two daughters. To find the schools, to find the place, where we're gonna live. And, it was pretty busy, but it was so, so I would say worthwhile, just, to try to explore city as soon as possible and to fit in the city. And basically my family, girls, they left today morning. I mean, it's, to say something about Vancouver, I don't need to say nothing, because, it's like top 5, cities in the world, I mean, this is, I had like great, the advices from Ranko, because before I was signing here, I was talking a lot with him. I was talking a lot with Florian Jungwirth, because we know each other from Germany and, playing in MLS against each other. Then I talk, as well with the coach, with Axel, with Queen, and with Zach McMath. He was goalkeeper.
Oh, of course, yeah,
exactly. And then with Sergio Cordova, so we are very good friends, and he gave me some, advices as well. So for me, it's that I'm already, part of the Whitecaps, of the locker room, and just coming 2 days ago and see all the faces and this warm welcome, it makes you special, because sometimes it's tough to change the club, especially after so many years, to get out of the comfort zone, to come into the new club, and you never know how it's gonna be, but they welcome me that I'm here already like a couple of years, especially not only the players, it was like the media staff, medical staff, over the phone with the coaching staff, over the phone with Axel and Queen. So I'm very happy to be part of and take this new challenge. as I said as well before, it is so much work ahead, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm so happy and I can't wait to get started.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Damir. Pleasure to have you here. Looking forward to
Thank you
seeing you
so
on the
much.
pitch, and enjoy Marbella.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, thank you. It's great meeting you over the video Zoom call.
Yeah, I'll see you in person soon, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Okay,
Looking
take
forward
care.
to it. Have a good
Bye.
one. Take care. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Absolutely fantastic stuff from Damir there. Absolute pleasure to speak to him. And as you can tell from that chat, absolutely fantastic guy to have in the squad. Great character, experience for the locker room, a leader. And it's exactly what this Whitecaps squad is needing to help take them to that next level. Spoke about a lot there, and it was a tough decision for him to leave RSL. But as he mentioned there, he's wanting more playing time. He's wanting to have a role that he feels he can still do. And it's clear that what Vanni and Axel spoke to him about as his role at the Whitecaps would be is probably going to give him more of what he's looking for than what RSL were offering, which was going to certainly be a much more reduced role by the sounds of it. And whether his body can produce what he produced in his heyday in MLS, which I say heyday, I mean, we're only going back to 2021, so it's not exactly many, many years ago. But obviously, as you get older, can your body perform to those levels? Damir certainly feels he can. He feels he's back to his best, and we'll get a good gauge of that when the MLS season kicks off in March. Maybe even for the Tigres game, if he can rise to the occasion for that in February. He's certainly a player that's going to give Vanni a lot of different strings to his bow, and he's happy to just play where Vanni wants him to be, whether that's an 8, whether that's a 9, whether that's a 10, and we'll see where it all fits in. I think he's going to play a variety of roles for the club this year, and it's going to allow Vanni to have a bit more rotation and confidence in doing that rotation, giving Ryan Gauld a bit of rest, giving Brian White a bit of rest as well. And let's just see what this season has in store. We also spoke there about his Kreilach's Corner, which it allowed over 400 children to attend every match that otherwise wouldn't have had that opportunity. And I didn't want to push it there as to whether he was going to do that here and put him on the spot this early, because obviously he has to have those discussions with the Whitecaps. But he won the RSL 2022 Humanitarian of the Year award. He's been very involved in the Salt Lake community, and he spoke about his love for Salt Lake and how it's always going to be in his heart. And if you read his Instagram farewell message to the fans, just how much that city, the club, the fan base meant to him and his family, and I'm sure he's going to have exactly the same here. We didn't talk a lot there, obviously, about his time over with Union Berlin. Want to do that when we've got more time, because obviously we covered a lot there, and we had a big chat with Damir, who was doing a lot of media on Monday as well, so I really appreciate him being so generous with his time. But I would love to sit down, we'll get Zach on to talk about his time over in Germany as well, once the season is a bit underway. But one thing we did have time to find out about from him: does Damir Kreilach fancy a chocolate digestive?
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
We do this thing on our show, and we say you're not a Whitecaps player until you've done this on our show. So it's just a fun thing about food and drink. So if you're sitting at home and you decide you want to have a hot drink, do you have a tea or a coffee or a hot chocolate?
So, you basically gave me all the options. So tea in the morning, coffee about like 4 p.m. and hot chocolate would be, to be honest, like as a baby around like 9. So
Nice.
yeah.
And like,
that's kind of routine, you know.
do you have a sweet tooth? Do you like to have a sweet treat with your drinks?
So sweet treat, yes. The most of the time it is like overnight oatmeal as well for the snacks. I'm kind of, for snack time around 4 with the coffee. But this is kind of what I like to do in the morning, like, with the tea, after tea, like to eat some yogurt, granola. That's kind of the ritual.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
No chocolate digestive or really sweet treats for Damir there. He's a healthy man. He's got to keep his body in good shape. 34, turning into 35. Overnight oats, favourite of my wife's as well. We'll see if we can tempt him with some sweet treats along the way. But let us know what you thought of our chat with Damir there. Let us know how you see him figuring into the Whitecaps' plans. Are you excited for him to be a part of Vancouver's team this year? Why would you not be? But we will be back with more chat and this week's song from 1974 after this.
How's it going, guys? I'm Ben Fisk. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
There's no mistake, I smell that smell. It's that time of year again. I can taste the air. The clocks go back, railway track. Something blocks the line again, and the train runs in for the first time. A pebble beach, we're underneath. He had just been painted red, where I heard the news for the first time. And all the friends lay down the flowers, sit on the banks and drink for hours. Talk of the way they saw him last. Local boy in a photograph today.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part from Wales, it's the Stereophonics with a song taken from their debut album, Word Gets Around. Released in March 1997, it was also the band's first single. That was Local Boy in the Photograph. And I've played that one in honour of the man that we're going to be speaking to in a couple of minutes' time, because Vancouver FC have added a local boy to their roster. The man from East Van, Ben 10 himself, Ben Fisk, returning to the Lower Mainland, returning to Vancouver after being away for more than a decade, signed with Vancouver FC this past week, joining the club after 3 successful seasons at Cavalry FC, coming to Vancouver FC as well on the back of Cavalry winning the regular season CPL title. And it was confirmed that Fisk was part of that surprising future considerations clause that saw Cavalry FC move up in the CPL draft just last month. The 30-year-old, to be 31 next month, returns to Vancouver, his 4th CPL side now. A man known to many of us at AFTN, a guy I've known personally since 2011. Have a lot of time for Ben Fisk. He's just a great guy on and off the pitch. Came through the Whitecaps Academy, was part of that historic under-18 Whitecaps side that were just moments away from lifting the USSDA Championship in 2012. Now teaming up with another teammate from that side, Callum Irvin, one of his all-time best friends in football as well. He never made that breakthrough to the Whitecaps MLS side that we were all hoping for. Played for the under-23s and the PDL with the Whitecaps, was on loan with Charleston Battery, then headed over to Spain, where he played with Caruxo and Deportivo B, before returning to Canada in 2016, signing with FC Edmonton, went over to Ireland to play for Derry City, before coming to join Pacific FC in the inaugural CPL season. 6 goals in his 24 appearances for Pacific, made the move to Atletico Ottawa for the COVID-hit 2020 season before landing in Calgary, playing those 3 seasons with Cavalry FC, 58 appearances, 3 goals. He's now come home and will be wearing the red and black of Vancouver FC in 2024. And I mentioned I played the Stereophonics Local Boy in the Photograph there at the start because Vancouver FC teased that they had a signing to announce on Monday night on their social media. They tweeted out on Instagram a photo of a player with a ball nicely in front of his face so you couldn't fully identify him. Many of us knew by looking at the pictures that it was indeed Ben Fisk in a park in East Van. Internet detectives also had done a fantastic job looking at the wedding ring on his finger, his shoes, his watch, clothes, trying to figure out who it was. But it was, of course, Ben Fisk coming back to Vancouver, and we got a chance to sit down with Ben on Thursday just to talk about coming back to his hometown to play for his local side. I think it's safe to say he's excited as a kid in a candy store at this opportunity, so go stick the kettle back on, grab another biscuit of choice because you are worth it. Sit back and enjoy our chat with Ben 10 himself. Here's Fisky. So, welcome back to the show. A man with superpowers. He's no ordinary kid. In fact, he's quite old now. He's about to turn 31 and he's now married. He's had more Canadian clubs than Mike Weir. It's the East Van Messi. Others will know him as Ben 10. It's our good friend, Ben Fisk. Welcome back to the show.
All right, welcome back home too, I guess. It's an absolute pleasure to be chatting with such familiar faces, and I've always, really, really appreciated the support I've got from you guys over the years, no matter where I've been at, which country, which club. It's been pretty special having all these connections back home, and now bringing it full circle, where we get to see a lot more of each other.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. It genuinely is. And I mean, we've talked loads over the years. I looked back to see, I don't know if I must have chatted to you at some scrum at Cavalry, but the last proper sit-down interview we had, well, it wasn't sit-down because you were quarantined in a room in Ottawa in March 2020. So just before the world shut down, or just as it was shutting down, was the last time that we had a proper chat.
That's incredible. The weird thing, I guess, that doesn't feel like too long ago, and then you look at the calendar, right, and it's coming up on 4 years. So lots changed. I feel like the virtual interview is now the norm, where at that point it was a lot more just over the phone or face to face, right?
Yeah, I love this. I like Zoom for me has changed the way that we do things on the show, and it's made me lazy as well. Like I don't go out to Whitecaps training much anymore. I just do it all by Zoom. But if there's familiar faces now up at VFC, I'll be popping up a lot more, I think, this year. But let's get into this, because a lot has changed since we last talked. And obviously we spoke at your introductory press conference on Tuesday. You were so excited. You were like a kid in a candy store. That smile, you couldn't wipe it off your face. So we'll touch on a little bit as to what we talked about there. But how did this move play out? Because when Vancouver FC were starting last year, you were one of the names that I kind of threw out to folk of, oh, yeah, you're going to try and get Ben to come home. And I was told you were very happy in Alberta, off the pitch as well. You were really settled, and it wasn't the direction that the club was looking at. So what's changed, and how are you now here in Vancouver FC?
Yeah, I mean, winning the regular season championship by a record 13 points doesn't hurt. It definitely felt like good timing to complete my chapter at Cavs. I think, I bounced around the first couple of years of the league. It was sort of the climate at that point. It was a bit like
Yeah.
the Wild Wild West, right? There wasn't many longer term deals for anybody, and so you're kind of, especially for the older guys, you're bouncing around a bit. I don't want to say chasing the money, but
Oh, yeah.
is what it is. It was a brand new market that needed to stabilize, right? And so that you saw with a few guys like myself kind of bouncing around. So when I decided to leave Ottawa, I wanted some stability. I wanted to I was in the prime of my career. I wanted to compete for trophies year in, year out. And looking through the first 2 years of the league, it was okay. It's Cavalry or Forge. Those are the teams that I'm confident now. Two very, very different seasons, obviously, with Island Games being the shortened bubble season. But so two very different seasons with their own unique adversities thrown at those clubs, and those are the two clubs that had performed 2 years in a row. So 2021, I took some time before signing anywhere. I was hoping to go to one of those two. Ultimately, Cavalry ended up happening after their bubble. So I went summer of 2021, I believe. So I had a bit of a sabbatical before that, but again, that was kind of where I wanted to land, and very simple, close to home and compete for trophies. It was those two things. So again, I think when VFC was launched, to bring it all back to that question, of course, a part of me, wants to come home, wants all this that I'm getting to experience now. But I also hadn't really ticked off that box that
Mm.
I'd gone to Calgary for. So that was the main thing. I was, committing to that goal that I'd set, with Tommy Wheeldon when I first signed at the club. We were going to bring silverware to Calgary, and I really, really wanted to see that through. Ultimately, of course, we were able to do that in stunning fashion. I think one of the most memorable seasons of my career, both for good and bad. We accomplished that goal, but I also had my fair share of injuries and stuff, and something that I hadn't really dealt with much in my career before. So incredible year, and again, it kind of ticked that objective that I was searching for. So fast forward to now. Again, the conversations with VFC and Rob started back in the summer after we played here, and it every conversation I had, it felt that much more real and that much more exciting, and ultimately, of course, was way too good to turn down.
Yeah, I mean, I was delighted for Cavalry last year. Tommy and me go back to the PDL days with Foothills and stuff,
Yeah.
and it was great to see that. And then, I mean, it was great seeing you back here playing in that game, scoring against VFC as well, especially after the injury, because it was sciatica you had, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and I never really experienced any nerve pain or anything like that before. Again, I've been very blessed injury wise through my career. I've always been a guy who can grind it out, basically self medicate a little bit. And I don't mean drugs. I just mean
Yeah.
additional time in the treatment room, additional time in the weight room. Like I've always taken very good care of my body and prided myself on that. So this one I tried to kind of treat the same way, and it's one of those injuries for anyone that's experienced nerve pain. Unfortunately, like less is more. So I
Yeah.
just kept kind of hammering it, and eventually kind of culminated in a preseason trip to Seattle and Portland. Lost sensation in my foot and my calf, which obviously as a footballer is not ideal. So yeah, it was shite, to be honest. Like, to put it very bluntly, it was
No,
horrible.
I actually I've suffered sciatica for about 10 years. Because
Yeah,
I've got a trapped nerve in my back, and it's
yeah.
like it flares up. It was really bad. I had it for just over a year, and I was on tablets, and I didn't think it was ever going away. And I was like, "Is this my life now?" And it was hell.
Yeah,
But then
yeah. No, it's
it got better with physio and stuff, and it flares up every now and again. But I know what you were going through. It's awful.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine 10 years of it. I had a few months and that was enough for me. So I don't know, what exactly has worked for you. Ultimately for me, it was I did do a cortisone shot. And from that moment onward, like that was when the feeling started to come back in my leg and everything. It just needed to like completely settle down.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
got one.
did it help at all?
Yeah, it was that, and I can't even remember what the tablets were, but they helped as well. But then after a year, it was like it just every now and again it'll flare up, but
Yeah.
it's like you're probably in a lot better physical shape than me anyway. So
No, I do not plan on letting this thing flare up again. I've buried it away in a deep dark cave, which it came.
I do not blame you. Let's talk about happier times then. So
Yeah, let's do it.
you spoke about the excitement of coming home properly in that press conference on Tuesday and today as well. Like when you left the Whitecaps in 2013, you went to Charleston, then I know you were over in Spain and Ireland and came back. And I listened to an interview that we did at Pacific back in 2019, and you spoke about wanting to come back to the CPL in that first year because it would be special. And I asked you then if the CPL had existed when you were in the Whitecap days, would that have shaped things differently? Looking back on it now, all these years later, could you ever have envisaged that there would be a domestic league in Canada and you'd still have a chance to play in Vancouver, but just not for a team that was the Whitecaps?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy thought, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think at that stage of my life, I think I was pretty set on trying to make something happen overseas, and again, playing with the Whitecaps was incredible, and had I ended up staying for a longer period with the first team, and playing at BC Place in a packed stadium in front of friends and family, that of course was very desirable for me at the time. But also ultimately, I was pretty frustrated without getting what I felt was a proper kind of look and an opportunity to earn some minutes, kind of thing with the first team. So at that point, I was 19, 20 years old with a chip on my shoulder, kind of thing, and so I do think leaving was what I needed.
yeah,
That being said, I think few years prior, kind of thing, when I was still a bit younger and I guess without that chip on my shoulder, sort of thing, I think definitely a league like this would have been incredible, right? I could imagine myself in a Vasco Fry type situation who was just announced today, right? He came on loan last
yeah,
season from the Whitecaps, right, to get minutes. I think something like that would have been incredible for me to get minutes, but still stay under the Whitecaps umbrella. And definitely, I think knowing what I know now and being 20 years old again, something I would have been really interested in. Um, but again, at that point, I think, yeah, I kind of had this chip on my shoulder and wanted to pack my bags and never come
no,
home, kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
it was the best thing for you to do for sure. And Whitecaps 2 didn't come to 2015, and you couldn't have hung a lot around that long just trying to break
Yeah,
through. So, I mean, do those days seem an age away now? I can't believe you're 31 next month.
yeah, I know, right? I mean, that's the funny thing about football, right? Like it's like our whole lives are condensed into a 15-year career, and
Yeah,
and sometimes it's easy to forget that you have a whole life to live once you're done playing. Um, I don't know. I think just about everything in my career, I kind of remember like it was yesterday. So everything from signing my first residency contract at the Whitecaps onwards, I think I could recall in pretty great detail. But yeah, it
yeah.
would make for a very long interview.
Why? We could probably chat for over an hour and make this an
Yeah,
interesting one.
easily.
But if like you play for a couple of teams in Spain and you won a League Cup in Ireland with Derry City, what did those European experiences teach you about yourself, both as a player, as a person, like both on and off the pitch?
I think again to that comment about recalling things from my whole career, I think I'm someone I could tell you every chapter, every club that I've been at, every season I've had, I could tell you exactly what I added to my game and to my person from the experiences I lived and learned from. I think Spain was well, in a lot of ways was the most exciting chapter of my career. It was the closest I came to, to breaking through at the highest level. This total side conversation, but like the closest I came to be on the bench for a first team game in La Liga was away to Barcelona, and up until Friday, I had a bag packed, like ready to go, kind of thing,
Oh
thinking that
wow.
was possibly going to happen. Ultimately, a couple first team guys come back from injury, and it doesn't pan out, kind of thing. But so for that reason, it was the closest I got to touching that pinnacle of the sport. The flip side of it was also at the end of it, I would say it was like the darkest period of my career, because it felt like a little bit of a failure in being so close. I could touch it, but not crossing that line and establishing myself and losing that opportunity. So I think um, Spain taught me a lot about myself as a player. It's when I learned the most. I feel like it's when I became the most complete version of myself, and the traits that I've built the rest of my career on. I feel like I honed through those years in Spain, and learned a lot on the tactical side. Learned a lot, even just professionalism and learning from big players. Guys like Luis Alberto, number 10 for Lazio. Those are the types of guys I was alongside and learning from. So it was great. It was humbling in that regard, but it also gave me a lot of confidence in what I brought to the game, and again, like I said, kind of what I could carry through for the rest of my career. So Spain, education, I guess, and Ireland, how much I love winning. And oh man, even just winning 3 points in a league game, just the passion, the commitment that the fans have to the clubs there was incredible. After a loss, you didn't really want to be seen around town, kind of thing, right? After a win, you're not paying for a round, kind of thing. So, winning on the smaller side, like game to game, and then ultimately culminating with winning the League Cup. I was like, oh man, I got to do this again. This is everything I've ever been working for, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So about Spain, I was wondering, because there's a few things in your journey that are really interesting in terms of how they are a bit of a microcosm of the Canadian footballer journey in one sense. So I'm just wondering, in your time in Spain, what was it like going to Deportivo, where you were like kind of, in one sense, kind of following in the footsteps of like a Julian de Guzman, like there was a Canadian who was there before you, and then also Sam Piet obviously was there before you, and you sort of overlapped a bit, I think, right before he went on
Yeah,
loan.
yeah, we lived together for a year as well.
So like what was that like in terms of like following some other trailblazers into like where they're like, oh, here's another Canadian, we know Julian, we know Sam, like how was that, like did that help pave the way for you? Was that a good thing? Was that a positive? Was it like, yeah, how did it help you maybe?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. I mean, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty, but Julian actually played a role in Sam and I getting there. The agent that helped us out was a good friend in La Coruña of Julian during his days there. So he got connected with some Canadian agents, and so that's actually how it all came to be. So without Julian, I don't think either one of us ever would have ended up at Debor. I think it was very cool, honestly, is how I describe it. It was very cool to see a guy that I grew up watching and idolizing. Like, Callum and I were like joking yesterday, actually. Like, we both remember when we were like 12, 13 years old, like trying to add the De Guzman brothers on Facebook and like ask them questions about how they, got where they are. Like, how can we follow in your footsteps, kind of thing. Um, and the coolest part, they replied, right? Like I remember, clear as day. Like, again, not a very long conversation by any means. Who's this young kid from Vancouver that thinks he's Ronaldo or something like that? But uh, again, the time that they spent, like literally just a quick little interaction with a kid who's trying to make it, always stuck with me. And so that's
Mm.
obviously something I've tried to carry on through my career, is never being too big for my boots, kind of thing. Taking time with the kids. But to bring it back to Spain, I think it was cool to walk in that guy's footsteps, to put it bluntly, right? To go to a pretty small town where you tell someone you're Canadian and they go, "Oh, the Guzman," like,
Yeah.
right? Like, it is the coolest thing in the world. And also to have Sam there, I think was awesome. We played in the U20s together a lot, U23s. Good buddy of mine to this day. And so again, having someone to kind of just bounce things off day to day, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. You're not going through it alone, and you're not going through it with people where my Spanish is pretty darn good, but it's not the same when you're upset or frustrated, kind of thing, right? So having a familiar face to lean on was pivotal for sure.
Yeah, to speak the language of your heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's good to hear too. Okay, so one other question, and Michael might have touched on this a little bit, but I'm wondering if you can, through the wisdom of your years now and your life experience and your
My
football
old age.
experience. Yeah, your old age, right? You're gonna be what, 31 in April?
In
February.
February.
February. Man,
He's not the old man at the team anymore anyway, because Renon's signed. So.
That's true. That's true.
I also
But-
conveniently planned my wedding a day after my birthday, so it's nice and easy to remember. So February is a big month for me.
Wisdom. There's wisdom.
That's why
right
my
there.
wedding's Halloween. I can't forget that.
Just tactical in every way.
Okay, but with all your experiences now and just the stage of life you're in or whatever, I'm wondering if you could, for a moment, just maybe share some reflections or share some thoughts on your time, but also looking back on maybe the group or groups holistically that came through the Whitecaps residency program. Because Michael and I, right, we followed you guys for a lot over the years in different ways. But one of the things that was always difficult for us, or always we didn't have a great answer for, was you guys seemed, and not just your group, there was multiple groups that were like this, right? Where it was like you guys together were dominant at age levels. Like you guys like bossed those USSDA, whatever leagues you were in, and made finals and did all this stuff. But then it was difficult for you guys to make the breakthrough individually into the Whitecaps first team, or in some cases in other teams down the road. I'm just wondering, as you look back on it, maybe from your own personal experience, but even just experiences of your friends and guys a little bit older than you, a little bit younger than you, if you have any insight or wisdom as to what could be improved so that those kind of dominant groups can maybe make breakthroughs better, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I know for some guys, everyone's different or whatever, and some guys, I'm sure the easy response is, oh, they weren't really put in a position to succeed in the first team, and the opportunities they were given weren't great opportunities, or they weren't given opportunities or whatever. And so that's maybe the easy answer. But is there anything, when you look at it, for the sake of like Canadian football as a whole, are there things that not just the Whitecaps but other clubs can do better at helping players make the leap from that U18, U19 to be a professional? And obviously things like MLS Next Pro are helpful for that, but and League One is maybe helpful for that. But what are your thoughts on the pathway from quality youth player to professional?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, the elephant in the room is of course the opportunity. You can develop all the players in the world, but you need to give them a chance to prove themselves, and most importantly, give them a chance to fail. I think if you have the backing of the club, you slowly build that confidence and integrate yourself into that higher level. And I think there's, I don't need to tell you guys how many players have come through that system that for sure were capable of making that jump, and it didn't happen for whatever reason. So that's for sure part of it, but again, it's far from the only reason. I think thinking about it like holistically, raising players to play in the first team versus developing teams to win at the young ages, I think is a good one. Because you're right, like we're used to winning, we're used to being the big dogs, we're used to especially the sort of standout players that we were playing in the national team together and stuff. Like at one point, I think my residency team was myself, Ben, Callum, Caleb, Bryce, Daniel Stenese, Yassine Essa. That's eight or nine guys right there that were all a part of our U20 national team. Like that's pretty impressive from one academy, right? So there was this feeling of like together, like we're like, I don't want to say golden generation, I'll let other people like put those types of labels on it, but there was a confidence there amongst us that we're good and we know it, and we're gonna make something of this kind of thing. So that's awesome. I think you need that to take the level. You need a healthy amount of ego in this business, right? But at the same time, potentially we could have been better prepared to fill roles in the first team, right? Not just be the top players at our age group. Like what is the pathway for us to fit into what the first team is doing tactically, positionally, even learning different sides of the game. Like with that team, like you said, we more or less balked everybody. Like we did what we wanted. We played out of the back. We tried things. We were creative. Like reality is at the professional level, like winning is the only thing that matters. Of course, your playing style is great if it works, right? But ask Burnley fans under Sean Dykes, right? Like they'd rather win games than play beautiful. And there's no one way to win, right? There's no one perfect way to play football. That's why it's the beautiful game. And that's we could talk about that side of things for a long time as well. But so I think to bring it all back, preparing us to fill specific roles in what the first team was looking for would maybe be my thing. And I think a good example of it that has come full circle now would be Sam Adekugbe. I think I don't know if it was on purpose or by accident, but he just fit the mold of what the first team was looking for in a left back at the time. Conveniently, Jordan Harvey had the injury. I remember Sam had a great run of games, right? And in my opinion, absolutely like solidified himself, and should have, we could be talking about Sam now having a 15-year Whitecaps career, right? And being, the main man. 15 years might be a bit of an exaggeration. 10 years, whatever. And of course, I don't know if Sam would have changed anything. He played for Galatasaray. How many Canadians can say that, right? But just to give you an example of someone who succeeded, because I think he obviously is a great player, great person, but also filled the right role at the right time.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear you say that. More about preparation for roles, because I think we did see some of those players go through, and then they definitely were not put in roles that they were used to or roles that they were prepared for.
Yeah, and to be like totally blunt, like I think I'm one of the best examples of it, right? Like I was, playing as a 10 in the youth teams and more or less doing what I wanted, right? Scoring goals, assisting, like roaming, and not a free role, but you know what I mean? Like kind of very much enjoying my football in a creative role. And so I started training with the first team. Well, am I going to play that role over Davide Cumiento at 18, 19 years old? Probably not, right? So I think, that's a great example right there where I think I had all the attributes to fill, a different, more like blue collar type role to begin with, right? I just needed to be nudged in that direction and nurtured in that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Let's get back to VFC. What role do you see yourself playing at the club? Because with last season, with the injuries, you missed the start. You made 4 starts overall from your 17 appearances. Do you still see yourself as a starter in this league? I'm pretty sure every player does. Would you see yourself? Would you be happy with an off the bench impact role? Do you see it as kind of a bit of both?
Definitely never happy with a role like that. I'm coming in to make an impact. I think the difference between a 31-year-old and a 20-year-old is that you know how to behave if things aren't going your way, or know how you should behave if they're not going your way. So I'm here to help the club become a winning organization, win year in, year out. If my role happens to be lesser than I'm hoping for and expecting, I think that's where you need to double down on what your true commitment is, right? I think I showed that last season at Cavs what I was capable of still accomplishing as a leader in the group and an integral part of that locker room. I think my role again in winning the championship was setting a standard that no one could go below if things aren't going your way. So if 30-year-old ex-Canadian international is out on Monday training with the kids, flying into tackles and putting everything into it, no one else has any excuse but to do the same, right? So all that to say, of course, I like I said, ego is very important in this game. You can't make it without one. Of course, I think I'm one of the best playmakers in the league. And I think I can really help the team here in a number of different ways and bring out the best in some guys that they've already got, right? So that's what I'm planning to do. And like I said, regardless what happens, I'll be giving everything I've got to the club.
In an ideal scenario, Ben, where would you like to see yourself playing? Is it centrally as a 10, or is it off the wing? Or I mean, you watched some VFC last year, so you know a little bit about how the ways Action has lined things up. But do you have, obviously, the puzzle's not complete yet, and I know more announcements today, more announcements coming. But in an ideal scenario, where would Ben Fisk like to see himself starting matches?
That's a crucial question, right? I think he's going to line the team up how he thinks will be best set up to succeed, and he will have my full backing and confidence in that. I guess not to dodge your question, some roles I could see myself filling. An inverted winger on the right, giving Caden the right flank. I think we combined really, really well my year at Pacific in that sort of role. Likewise, in preseason before my injury, Mickey Cantava and I were combining really well at Cavs, with him off the left and me in the 10 role. On that sort of the left side of the central midfielders. So those would be two areas right away I think I could impact, and with existing connections that I'd be really excited to work with again.
You're going to be playing with Callum for the first time in a long, long time. And like we know, your best friend, I think you mentioned since 10 or 11 years old. You've played against him in the CPL.
Scored against him a few times as well.
I didn't. I was gonna check that to see if you had scored against him and hadn't.
Last two, no, not 2 games. 2 of the last 3 games we played against each other, I scored on him. So he'll be happy that I'm wearing the same color now.
Just talk about that friendship, and also like with Ben McKendry as well, another East Van lad. Just talk about the friendship the three of you guys have had over the years, because obviously you played with Ben in Ottawa as well.
Yeah. I mean, Ben and I go back even further. We met playing at Garden Park for the Grandview Legion when we were 5 years old. So, and I think we had a sleepover before one game or something like that. And the rest was history, right? Stayed up too late playing FIFA, and I can't remember what we were doing at 5. But yeah, it's been a long story. And then met Callum when we started training with Bart Chauffeur at TSS. I think we were 10, 11 years old. And again, hit it off right away. I think, similar to like what I was saying about being in Spain with Sam, it's very powerful to have people close to you going through your trials and tribulations with you along the way. And I think with Ben, Callum, and I were a great example of one, we kept each other humble, and always, if one of us was taking their foot off the gas a little bit, the other two were going twice as hard to pick up the slack, kind of thing. And you had no choice but to follow along and train just as hard, be just as dedicated. There's so many distractions when you're in your teenage years that can pull you away from football. And I think the three of us were so locked in. We were like 25, 30-year-old pros at 15 years old. We all knew what we wanted. We all knew how we were, well, maybe not how we were going to get there, but we knew the path we wanted to follow, and held each other accountable. So I will only speak for myself, but I wouldn't be here talking about the career that I've had without those two guys.
Any chance of getting the three amigos together? You're going to push to get Ben back now as well?
I think he's pretty happy starting the next chapter of his life here, but definitely lots of hangouts. We've already gotten together a few times, and I'm sure he'll be at lots of games. We might maybe an honorary jersey or something like that. We'll get him set up with.
That's, well, talking of jerseys, the number 10 jersey is available. Is that what we're going to see in next year?
We'll see. It hasn't been announced yet, but I'm sure my smile tells you what you need to know.
Last thing, it's like, are you already picturing that first game running out? You're going to have so many friends and families there. Are you just counting down the days now?
Yeah. It's been such a whirlwind, really, like last month and a half. As soon as we got the deal done, making the move from Calgary, not quite as easy when I packed one suitcase and booked a one-way ticket to Spain. Things have changed a lot since then. Marriage, for one, changes your life. You get a lot more things that fill the house that you don't know what they do, but they're important. And
did you pack that white cowboy hat?
I did not. That's actually a good story. It's one of the foot soldiers. leaders there. He wears it to every game, and that goal celebration was not planned whatsoever. He was celebrating, like throwing his beer around or whatever, and it just fell off his head onto the pitch, and I picked it up. But it's cool when stuff like that happens organically, right? No, didn't pack the cowboy hat, but had a lot of other shit to pack that, don't have to tell anyone how shitty moving is, especially intercity. We've done it a few times. It's a little easier than moving back from Ireland, I'll tell you that much. But again, busy month or so. So I think like now that we're settled, it's finally like really, really hitting home that we're home, and it's a pretty surreal feeling that I'm trying to soak in. But for sure, I can't wait to be on the pitch, wearing that jersey and seeing everyone in the crowd. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, can't wait to see you. Hopefully I can get out to the first game this year. I couldn't last year because I was commentating. So we'll see what the fixtures throw up, but I'll definitely see you soon. We'll catch up soon.
Put in a word for you.
Awesome. So take care, and it's great seeing you back. A pleasure having you back here, and I can't wait to see you on the pitch in black and red.
Beautiful, guys. Absolute pleasure as always. We'll see you around very soon.
Alien device did what it did and stuck itself upon his wrist with secrets that it hid. Now he's got superpowers, he's no ordinary kid, he's Ben 10.
Fantastic. Catching up with Ben 10, Ben Fisk there. It's been a while, as we mentioned at the start there. And yeah, great addition to VFC in a week where they also announced the re-signing of Vasco Fry, Miki Kintav and Renan Garcia. So 4 good additions, re-additions, if you want to look at that. And Vasco Fry, I think we can class as a new addition as well. But getting back to Fisk before we get onto those 3, Zach, how are you feeling about Ben leaving Cavalry, coming home, coming to Vancouver FC, and what you think he's maybe going to offer the team and feature for them this season?
Yeah, we won't have to deal with all the play acting and training from Meyer Bevan, so he'd probably appreciate that. But no, I'm excited. Obviously, I'm excited. I mean, he's one of these players we've been watching for more than a decade, right? Like, and been following his career, and have a lot of time for him, and really excited to see what he can contribute. I think it was interesting how he answered your question in terms of what his role might be. He had some injuries and whatever last year, but he made no bones about it. Like, he is giving his all to be a starter, right? Like, he wants to impact this side from the starting 11, and I'm hoping that's what happens, because if he is, then that'll bode well for us.
I love the passion as well, that if he's not there as a start, he's just going to put the extra work in to make sure he gets there, and that's the attitude you need, and that is the attitude that Afshin's going to want to see, and that will rub off on the younger guys as well. And we talked about it when we spoke to Renan Garcia a few weeks back. It's like that attitude of him, he's there first, he goes to the gym early, he eats properly. It's rubbed off in the younger players who see that and they're like, wow, this guy's 37 and he's still doing this. I want a long career. These are the things I need to do. And these are the characters, these are the role models that you want at the club. And with someone like Ben, I think if I was drawing up this time last year who I wanted to be on the team, who my dream guys were, Ben Fisk was in that squad.
Yeah, and maybe we'll still get to see another one of those.
Well, maybe another 2 even, because not Ben McKendry. No. I thought he might have hung up his boots because he hadn't been playing last year, but as Ben said there, it looks like he's pursued other passions post playing football now, or career wise and stuff as well. So I mean that's good to see. We wish Ben all the best. Hopefully see him in the stands, because we haven't seen Ben McKendry for a while either. But yeah, I mean, I think the guys, we've talked about it on the show, Darius Zanata, on the bench recently for Hamilton, unused sub yesterday in their game, and he's a guy that you'd think you want to see him back here. David Norman Jr., we'll see what happens with him after his success in League of Ireland, success for Ben in League of Ireland as well, so maybe following his footsteps here. But Vasco Fry, locking that up. When we spoke to Vasco last year, he said he was open to it. When we saw the Whitecaps hadn't taken the contract up for this year, we thought it's a formality. And I like this. I like what he's done. He's gone there. He's made an impact. And I feel he's fantastic to have now locked up for next year. Well, this year.
Yeah, no, he is an exciting one. I was kind of pessimistic at the signing, right? I remember when I was first told about it and then talking to you about it. And I was like, this doesn't sound like the type of move that's really going to help move the needle in the second half of the season the way we need it. But he was. I mean, he was a part of that, right? And I mean,
a new lease of life he got though as well.
Oh, totally, yes.
Because it brought the Vasco Fry, the best Vasco Fry that we knew what he had done in the past.
So yeah, I'm happy for him. I'm happy, I think, for us. You always in sports, you always worry, right, when a player signs that newer contract that's a little bit long. These contracts aren't crazy long or anything like this, right? But you hope that there's not there's not an easing off or whatever, right? You're just hoping that he'll keep kicking on and keep fighting, right? Because I think if you're Vasco Fry, you went to MLS Next Pro to try and kick on, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he's kicked on in the CPL, and I think he's still of an age where he wants to kick on even more, right? So
yeah.
So I hope we together we can achieve things that helps him achieve kicking on.
Yeah. Win-win for all parties, and we'll see what this week and next week brings. I would not be surprised if we find there's another big announcement this week and we have another VFC interview either in the next podcast or the one after. But we're gonna move on from that now, and we've got one more part to go. So dig out the flares, get your polyester shirt on, grow that facial hair, because we're transporting back to 1974 and kind of the 70s in general, as we're going to pay tribute to a footballing legend that passed away this past week. We'll be back with all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
So cool that you love to be. Oh, well, now you've been laying it down. You got your hips swinging out of bounds, and I like the way you do what you're doing to me. Alright, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. I really love your tiger light, and that's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your tiger feet. I really love your tiger feet. Your tiger feet. Your tiger feet, your tiger feet, all right. Well, flash your warning lights just as long as you like. I know you're aching to be making me tonight. I got a feeling in my knees, a feeling only you can please. There ain't no way I'm gonna let you out of my sight. Alright, that's right, that's right, that's right, that's right. I really love your tiger light, and that's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your tiger feet. I really love your tiger feet. Your tiger feet. Your tiger feet. Your tiger feet. All right.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio. And kicking off this part, we've sent you back to 1974. English band Mud with an iconic song from the 70s glam scene, released on January 11th, 1974. That was Tiger Feet. Not sure how well known that song or that band even is over here, because the glam scene was huge in the 70s in the UK, Zach, and I'm not sure how big it was here. I know it was pretty big. Bay City Rollers were big, so we'll be waving our tartan scarves later this year as we have some Bay City Roller songs. I've played Slade on the show before, and Mud were a very big glam band in the English scene back in the day. That gave the band the first of 3 UK number ones. It stayed at number 1 for 4 weeks. And if you were to ask people in the UK to name 5 glam songs from the 70s, I think many of them would name Tiger Feet as one of them. It even has its own dance that I would love us to get caught on at BC Place for the 50th anniversary. I'm sure they'll be playing all these songs that we play over the PA system. So I'll do the dance for you now, which will be good for the podcast listeners.
Oh, no.
That's neat, that's neat, that's neat, that's neat. I really love your tiger feet. It's basically just moving your arms up and down. But yeah, Tiger Feet. Love that band. Love that song.
You should put that on your TikTok, Michael.
We need to get an AFTN TikTok going. But yeah, we're kicking off this part with our song from 1974 because if you're new to the show, we are honouring the Whitecaps' 50th anniversary by giving a big part of the show to 1974. Every episode, we're going to play a song every week from that week 50 years ago, and we'll also give you a little roundup from what happened 50 years ago this week as well. So Mud's Tiger Feet came into the UK charts as a new entry at number 10 50 years ago this week. The number 1 spot was taken by the New Seekers with You Won't Find Another Fool Like Me. Glam rock band Slade had the UK number 1 with their album Sladist. The Steve Miller band The Joker took the number 1 spot in the US this week 50 years ago, knocking off Jim Croce's Time in a Bottle that we played in last week's show, but that still remained the number 1 song in Canada. Now, I watched a show this week that was on UK's Channel 5, The Most Shocking Moments of 1974. Because when I do a bit on the show, I'm like Joaquin Phoenix. I'm like a method actor. So I'm just invoking everything 1974 just now. But I thought it was really nice for Channel 5 to be like, hey, Michael needs a quick update as to what went on in 1974. And they did this whole hour-and-a-half show for me to watch. We've got some amazing moments to talk about this year, some of which I knew we'd be talking about, some had totally forgotten. But this week in 1974, there was an energy crisis in the UK's ACT that had people working a 3-day week. For some people, a dream, but not when you only get paid 3 days' pay. I don't think that hit over here. And I know you're not a good person to ask about this because you weren't born. But have you heard of the 3-day week and all the rolling strikes and blackouts and stuff that the UK had 50 years ago?
No, I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm familiar with these concepts, but I'm not familiar with the movements of the time.
Yeah,
in their time.
I was just 5 at the time, so I've only got vague recollections of this. But I remember my mum having the 3-day work week, but there was rolling blackouts. We had candles that we had to have at hand all the time because you'd have the electricity on for 2 hours and it would maybe go off for 2 hours. So you could be watching a TV show and then your electricity went and you couldn't finish watching the TV show.
That's
you had
crazy.
to get all your candles and your gaslit lights all ready and heaters and stuff. Yeah, it was crazy. Some other stuff that happened this week 50 years ago. January 15th, Happy Days, the TV show premiered, ran for 11 years. Were you a big Happy Days fan? Obviously not when it was first launched, although I did watch it when it was first launched, but did you enjoy Happy Days?
I remember watching it a little bit when I was growing up, and I don't know, I just remember thinking it was cool.
Well, I remember going to the local sweet shop and buying a Fawn's badge that had Fawns on it, and it went, hey, and said, hey, I'm cool underneath. So, yeah, Happy Days was a fantastic show. It's still one of those shows you can watch it now, and because it was set in the 50s, you can still enjoy it because it's still kind of fresh humour. So that show 50 years ago on the 15th, the day this podcast is out, premiered. January 16th, 1974, Ajax beat AC Milan 6-0 to win the 1973 European Super Cup 6-1 on aggregate. January 17th, Mexican boxer and three-weight world champion Marco Antonio Barrera was born. January 18th, 1974. After some successful TV movies the year before, another iconic 70s TV show began, The $6 Million Man.
I remember that
Lee
one.
Majors. I remember watching that as a kid on TV. January 19th, in college basketball, Notre Dame beat UCLA 71-70 in South Bend, Indiana, to end the UCLA Bruins' NCAA record-breaking 88-game basketball winning streak. January 20th, for the first time in the history of English professional football, a match in the English Football League was played on a Sunday. The start was moved to 11:30 in the morning, and there was two other matches scheduled in the afternoon. The historic match, Millwall defeated the visiting Fulham 1-0 in the league's second division. Because I don't know how aware folk are about this, but I think even going into the 90s, maybe even the 2000s, in England, you couldn't open a shop on a Sunday because it was God's day of rest. And
Yeah.
so
It was like that here when I was growing up as a kid.
Really? So, I mean, they didn't play football until 50 years ago on a Sunday. That was the first match. Now, it's like wall-to-wall football on Sundays. And January 21st, 1974, trying to get one kind of news item for every day of the week that our podcast will be out. But I thought with the cold weather we've had here, rescuers in Turkey saved 680 train passengers that had been stranded for almost 2 days by large snowdrifts and temperatures that dropped as low as -30. They had to use flamethrowers to melt the snow. It took them 44 hours to get through to all the passengers.
Oh, man.
So that was the week in 1974. Yeah, let us know if you're enjoying these 1974 sections. Doesn't matter if you are or not. We're going to be doing it all year long. But another footballer that was very prevalent and had a very successful 1974 was Franz Beckenbauer. Won the World Cup with West Germany, won the Bundesliga with Bayern, and won the European Cup with Bayern as well. And sadly, the Kaiser, Franz Beckenbauer, passed away on Sunday, aged 78. It was announced on the Monday, so we weren't able to cover it in last week's show. Frank Beckenbauer, if you're Joey Barton.
Oh, my.
Yeah, he needs to kind of stay off social media. One of only 3 players to win the World Cup as both a player in 1974 and a manager 1990 with West Germany. Also won the 1972 Euros as a player with West Germany. Now, interestingly, Mario Zagallo, who was the first man to achieve that feat of winning the World Cup as a player, which he did twice with Brazil in 1958 and 1962, and then as a manager with Brazil in 1970, plus he was a runner-up in 1998, an assistant manager with Brazil in 1994, but Zagallo died on Friday, January the 5th, aged 92. So Zagallo dying on Friday, Beckenbauer dying on Sunday. The third man, Didier Deschamps, who also achieved that feat as a player in 1998 with France and then manager in 2018, as well as being runner-up in 2022. He must have been shitting himself for Tuesday to come around. But he's okay. He's still going strong. But that just, it's crazy the time.
When you text me about that, we were like, I'm on Deschamps watch or whatever. I was like, what?
He made it. But yeah, Beckenbauer, absolute legend of the game. And that word, we've talked about it on the show before, it's thrown about so much these days. Oh, this guy's a legend, he's an icon. Beckenbauer is a legend. And to many people, many folks still hold him up as the greatest all-time player, above Pele, above Maradona, above Messi. He made 103 appearances for Germany, scored 14 goals. Aptly, for our 1974 celebrations, as I mentioned, he won the World Cup, the Bundesliga, the European Cup that year. In his career, he played 14 seasons with Bayern from 1963 to 1977, making 584 appearances, scored 75 goals. Then he headed to North America in 1977, played 4 seasons with the Cosmos, scoring 21 goals and 105 appearances, was the league's MVP in his first season in 1977. Then he went back for a season and a half with Hamburg before finishing his playing career with a return to the Cosmos for the 1983 season, where he played 25 more games and scored 2 more goals. He finished his playing career having made 754 club appearances for just 3 clubs, scored 98 goals. He won 5 German championships with Bayern, 1 with Hamburg when he went back with them, 3 NASL titles with the Cosmos, 3 European Cups, a European Cup Winner Cup, and 4 German Cups. A true legend, Zach. And I know as a German descent and huge German football fan, and you met the man himself as well. It's like it just will get some of your memories of Franz Beckenbauer, what he meant to you, and just your thoughts of him as a player.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those people who, for me, he's the greatest footballer of all time. I know lots of people would disagree with that, and that's fine. But I think, I don't know, he's someone who transformed the game, right? Playing that libero role, that person who played kind of behind the back line, but then was given the permission and the blessing of his coach to then also lead the attack out of the back and bring the play forward, and in one sense do some playmaking, I guess, out of that role. You could look at it that way, but really set the tone from the team from the back.
Before you go on, have you heard the famous story about his first game at New York Cosmos?
No, I thought you were going to ask me about a different famous game.
No. So it's half time, and the Cosmos owner goes into the locker room and he says, "We didn't spend all this money for a player to play in the back. We don't want a defender. We want him up front."
Yeah.
Then it had to be explained to him.
Yeah.
That's not who you've signed.
People. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to share that. It's just,
that's ridiculous.
I heard that story again this week on the Sloping Pitch podcast. I was like, I forgot I'd heard that before.
That's crazy. I mean, he transferred the game. He was a legend. I mean, when I've been reading a bunch of stuff on the Bayern sites and people talk about him, it's not just his what he did as a player. Supposedly he was I'll talk about my brief encounter in a moment, but he was just like someone who kind of lit up the room and made everyone feel at home and welcome and involved, and he did huge things off the field as well, like you said, as a coach, and then he was president at Bayern for years and years and years. He was also the head of the organizing committee that brought the World Cup to Germany in 2006, which is I know a negative thing because there was
he was also involved in helping the World Cup get to Russia and Qatar, which led to a whole ethics inquiry and stuff.
That's the downside.
Yeah. I don't think that tarnishes his legacy.
Not to me, but I'm sure for some people it will.
But it's FIFA. It's like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of folk that could be implicated in such things. But
and there's lots who have. But
I think it was
to much worse degrees than him.
Yes.
Anyways, he was a legend, right? Like, and so I never got to see him play. Like, I never watched him play growing up or whatever, because that was before my time, because I'm kind of like 93, 94 and onward in terms of like watching and following the game. It took me a decade later to really be, really involved and fully engaged.
Yeah, I was lucky that I did, because like the 74 World Cup's the first one I know I watched, but I don't have much of a recollection of it. But I watched 78 as well and European Championships. But I remember watching Beckenbauer and Cruyff and like those guys, and so lucky to have seen them play, albeit on TV.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of footballing moments, one of my greatest joys ever was when you sent me down to the MLS All-Star game to cover the Russell Tybert.
You wanted to go. I didn't.
No,
you're going down to
of course,
Portland. You're going down to watch Russell Tybert. You've been a bad boy.
So you sent me down. You got me into to cover the what was it? The MLS next All Stars.
Yeah.
Against it was like the Chipotle sponsored game.
Yeah. You got free Chipotle. It was awesome.
But no, it was, what was that game called? They played.
It was the, I can't remember what it was called. But it was the All-Star Youth.
Yeah, it was like the young up and comers or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, we know that the German youth movement, they've been big over the years.
No, but no, the opponent for MLS was actually like Portland's U23 team or something.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't.
And it was a day or two before the game, and it was just fun because well, I
also got you as a photographer, so you got to be at pitch level.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think I got to be in the press box and at pitch level.
Yeah,
so I got all kinds of fun pictures with Rusty and also Ashton Morgan as well. That was the first time I ever met Ashton Morgan, but like, yeah, Rusty was really great and whatever. But you couldn't get me into the All-Star game, which you know, as I went down, I was like, oh, that sucks, but you know, I'm sure I'll figure something. And so what happened was, actually, one of the great things that you got me into is you got me into Bayern training.
Yes.
where there's some other stories I won't tell right now, but when I was at Bayern training, all of a sudden there was this, because I was having a conversation with, there's this guy named Ken Puckett, and Ken Puckett, I think he still is, I don't know if he's not there or his role's changed, but Ken Puckett is the guy who's in charge of the entire stadium for the Timbers. And I don't know, I forget if he's Canadian or he's just lived in Canada, but he was the guy I would always drive down, bring him ketchup chips because he can't get ketchup chips in the States. So I'd buy like, I don't know, anywhere from 4 to 10 bags of ketchup chips, and I'd bring them in. And then when I go in the stadium, they're like, sir, you can't bring that in here. I'm like, no. I was like, this is for Ken Puckett. If you can make sure this gets to Ken Puckett. So they take these, you see someone walking through the stadium with a bag or a box of ketchup chips. Thinking it's Ken. Anyways, so I knew Ken, and Ken started to have this conversation with this guy, and I looked at the guy and I'm like, I know that guy. That guy's Andy. And so Andy is this dude who I met. I first saw him in 2003 when I went to Germany. And then my wife and I think it was I can't remember now. Anyways, a year or two later, we were at the Bayern game in Chicago, and our tickets were on the other side of the stadium. And I was like, oh, I do not want to. So I just went over to the Bayern fans, and Andy was there with guys from Red Munichs. Andy's a part of a group called the Red Munichs. And I was like, hey, can we? And he's like, oh yeah, come, because they were like the only people in the stadium standing. It was like, whatever, 3, 4, 5 rows of Bayern supporters right behind the one goal. So they're like, oh yeah, come in. And then I talked to him. I'm like, dude, like, I know you. Like, I saw you. I was like, you were at this game. And he's like, oh yeah. And I found out later that actually Andy goes to every game. And Andy's actually, he's not just a groundhopper, but he's also works for Bayern. He's like they have 2 supporter liaison guys. One's a guy who wears a suit and tie. And then there's Andy, who's like, you know, like your typical German supporter. But he's the guy, I've told you about him before. He's the guy in Footballogy who's like the top of Footballogy.
Yeah.
And he's the guy
understandably now.
Do you remember when Bayern played Olympiacos or whatever in the Champions League, and I showed you pictures of the Bayern supporters went to the youth game ahead of time, and the guy got all bloody? Yeah. That was Andy. That's Andy. Anyways, so I was talking to Andy, and so Andy came over to talk to Ken Puckett. I'm like Andy and whatever. So we connected, and then after that training session, I just hung out with the Bayern, because Bayern brought over a bunch of. They had spots on their plane, and so they sell them to their supporters at a really reasonable rate, and they bring over a bunch of their supporters. And so Andy was on that plane, and so Andy was talking to Ken. He's like, Ken, can I bring my bag, my luggage from my hotel to the game, because we're leaving right after the game. I'm on the plane with the team, and they're going right from the stadium to the airport and home to Germany, to Munich. And Ken's like, dude, you can't do that. He's like, because this was, I think, a day or two before the game still, and he's like, yeah, we have a bomb squad that's coming into the stadium that's sweeping the whole stadium. So wow. Yeah, you cannot bring your personal bags and just like leave them somewhere. That would go against our policies for this game and blah blah blah. So he's like, hey, Andy, I was like, I'm going to be parked like across the street. I'm like, you can just throw your stuff in my car. And he's like, oh, that'd be great. So he's like, cool. And then as I was there, I met a whole bunch of other dudes from different Bayern supporter groups. So a few of them, like I gave them rides around town and stuff. I stayed at Abe's house for this actually, which was great for me. So a few of them put their stuff in my car because they had no place to put their stuff. And so after the game, I told them, I was like, before I said, hey, I can just drive you. So whenever you guys want to go, we'll just go. I'll drive you to the airport. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So we're driving to the airport or whatever, and they're like, oh, you should come in. And I'm just like, I don't really need to see the Portland airport. But they're like, no, you should come in. We're on the plane with everyone. So they're like, if you come in, you get to meet everyone. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come in with you. And anyway, so I got all these Bayern players walk through, so I got, to meet a bunch of them and took pictures with a bunch of them. But then there was this moment, and Beckenbauer walked in, and I was just like, I can't believe this. Like, this is, yeah, on a sporting sense, one of the people I've most admired, like, ever. But I was just like, okay, like, he was standing off to the side. You could tell he was kind of like, wasn't really like desiring people to come and talk to him or whatever. So I just went up to him, and I think I asked to take a picture with him first. And so he said, yeah. And then I just said to him in my broken German, I just said, hey, I said, Mr. Herr Beckenbauer, I just said, thank you for everything you've done for football in the world. And it was just like, for me, it's probably more surreal and like meaningful, and it stands out in my mind as probably more meaningful than it actually was. But it was one of those moments where he sort of like looked at me like, he's sort of like, people don't say that to me every day. And he was just like, thank you. And whatever. And I said, whatever, said goodbye. And he went into his line and got his tickets and went through and whatever. But I was just so thankful to the dudes or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's a lovely story and a memory, though. It's like what makes memories is little things like that.
Oh, yeah. And then the dudes later, they sent me all these screenshots because they're like, you were on TV in Germany because there's captions of us standing in the airport waiting as the players come by. And they're like, look, there you are. And I'm like, oh.
That's awesome.
That was quite funny.
Well, here's a quiz question for you.
I'm going to not get this right. Why are you doing this to me?
So Beckenbauer, obviously with the Cosmos, he's played against the Whitecaps. How many times do you think Beckenbauer played against the Whitecaps in NASL action?
I think it's a few, because I've heard people talk about it, right? Like, he played at Empire, right?
Mm-hmm. That's my follow-up question. How many times has he played in Vancouver?
Yeah, I know he's played at Empire. I don't know. What was let's say 6.
Oh, 7.
7, okay.
So,
and then at Vancouver, is it 3 or 4?
No, this was the surprising thing when I looked at this. So he's played against the Whitecaps on 7 occasions in NASL action. The first time in New York in a 3-2 victory in June 1978.
Victory for Beckenbauer or for the Whitecaps?
For the Cosmos.
Oh, okay.
I guess Beckenbauer FC, if that's what you were calling them. He didn't make the return trip to Vancouver, though, in June 79. Like, he didn't come out here as the Whitecaps had a 4-1 victory. But he did play against the Whitecaps that season at Giant Stadium in July, and that's in the regular season. So, first visit here didn't come, but he made his first of only 2 NASL appearances in Vancouver in the playoffs at Empire Stadium on August 29th, 1979. He played the full 90 minutes. The Whitecaps won 2-0 in front of 32,875 fans. He then played in the return match at Giant Stadium, which the Cosmos won in the shootout, before the Whitecaps won the mini-game 1-0 to advance to the soccer ball and then went on to lift it. He also played against the Whitecaps in his final year of the league in his first stint here in 1980, where he played at Empire Stadium on June 29th, scored the opening goal in the Cosmos' 3-0 victory that day. So he's played in Vancouver twice, he's scored here once, then he went back to Hamburg before coming back here for the 1983 season. He played 25 more games that season, as I mentioned, and he played his last game against the Whitecaps as the Cosmos won 3-0 at Giant Stadium on June 29th, 1983, but didn't play the game in Vancouver 11 days later. So it's not modern-day players that don't come and play in Vancouver way back in the NASL days.
He had some Tyrion-itis?
Yeah. So, I mean, for the fans to have seen that would be amazing.
I forget this, but you know that Giant Stadium is gone, eh? Like, it's demolished. The
Pontiac Silverdome
as
well, where I went and watched the 94 World Cup. Yeah, so the original Giant Stadium closed at the end of the 2009 NFL season, and then MetLife Stadium opened in 2010, which was built in the surrounding parking lot.
Right, okay.
So yeah, the original... Well, I mean, it's sad because it's like Empire's not here, Giant Stadium's not here, and it's much like in the UK. I hate when it's all these old stadiums that have
It's one
good
of the
memories and don't exist anymore.
it's not an amazing ground by any stretch of the imagination, but it is. I feel fortunate that I got to go to one game there.
It's historic.
Yeah, I went 2001.
And of course, the Whitecaps won their 1979 Soccer Bowl at Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
So yeah, Franz Beckenbauer sadly passing away, an absolute true legend, a true icon of the game. And I thought for our wavelength song this episode, we'll play a Franz Beckenbauer tribute song. Now, I've had this in my stash of songs to play for a while, but I try and steer away of the foreign language songs until I'm going to run out of the English language songs.
I should have got you to play Gute Freunde. He actually sings it.
I saw that, and I watched the video, and I thought about it, and I was like, no, I'm going to go for this instead. It's a Polish band called Bonik, and this is a song from their 2018 album Delfina, and it's named after the great man. The lyrics translate from Polish as, I pass the ball like Franz Beckenbauer. So it's not a song about him per se, but we're playing it as a tribute to him. This is Bonik, Franz Beckenbauer.
Chwytam za stery, stylu mi brak. Nim zacznę od zera, poczuję żal. Coś we krwi to steryt, błękitny smal. Dech z piersi wybiera. Sam teraz stoję tam, gdzie zawsze stałem. Pragnę wędrować, ale brak mi sił. Zobacz, biją pioruny, ziemia drży. Płynie woda, duszę w gardle krzyk. Jeśli ukują mnie zęby Cerbera, w świetle poranka nie będę opierał się na swoich ustach, więc ślady zacieram po lustrach opery i tłustych deserach. Każdy, kto ma przyjść dzisiaj, spóźni się. Nie żartuję. Każdy, kto ma przyjść dzisiaj, spóźni się. Wiem, co tam masz, złoty zegarek. Mimo, że przyszłość jest lekko mglista, walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Podaję piłkę jak Franz Beckenbauer. Idzie król ulicy, a wokół jego harem. Wtem słyszę zgiełki wyzwiska. Walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Całują drzew korony, wirującą mgłę, która płynie. Coś, co było tłem, kroplą wina, biciem 4 serc. Chcę zatrzymać podskoki saren, moje kroki w szary. Dzień pokonuje falę, noszę się z zamiarem, aby wcale się nie witać wokół. Patrzę jak bandyta. Jeśli zatańczę, to za karę. Gesty czułe i dojrzałe celebruję dziś sumienie. Nie wytrzyma serce, wiem, chwyć mnie za ręce. Chwyć mnie za ręce. Kto otruje, kto ocali, gryzą reszki komary. Sam zechce więcej, chwyć mnie za ręce. Chwyć mnie za ręce. Walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Podaję piłkę jak Franz Beckenbauer. Walczę z upałem, woda zamienia się w parę. Podaję piłkę jak Franz Beckenbauer.
Polish band Bonik there, Franz Beckenbauer from 2018. And as Zach said, you can hear a song that Franz sings himself in German. What is it?
Gute Freunde.
Guten Freunde.
The memorial service is being held at the Allianz Arena this Friday.
Ah.
So I don't know if they're streaming anything or whatever, but
I imagine they will.
I'm going to try and follow it, yeah.
Yeah. So RIP to Franz Beckenbauer, and also, as we mentioned there as well, RIP to another great man, Mario Zagallo.
Mm-hmm.
But that is it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. Thank you for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed our 2 featured interviews and all the football chat. Just before we go though, Zach, any final thoughts from you? Anything funny that's caught your eye this week, or anything you want to end the show with?
No, I just want to. Can I give a shout out to our buddy Felipe?
You can always give a shout out to anyone you want, especially Felipe.
Okay, so yeah, just a shout out to our buddy Felipe and the Coast to Coast podcast. They have a special pod coming out. I got to be a part of. I know usually you get to go do the special pods with him, Michael.
Oh no!
But this one was
a guess. I've just done
this one. This one was like a CPL supporter one, so I got to go and be a guest with I don't know. There's 3 or 4 other CPL people there from around the league, and then Mike and himself and
the special fans.
Anyways, it was quite fun. So make sure you check out their feed. I don't know what the timeline is for it to come out, but go check out Coast to Coast on social media and on your podcatcher things, and check out that episode. Yep. It was funny though. I think the recording time was like 90 minutes, and they're like, "Oh man, that was so long."
And you're like, long.
I was like, this is one of the shortest podcasts
I've ever been on in my life.
No, it was really good, and it was good to hear from people from other communities talk about their teams and even hear what they think about what's gone on here in the first year, and yeah, it was good. It's fun to be part of. So shout out to Felipe. Thank you, Felipe.
Check his podcast out at the best of times. It's a really good podcast. Oh, yeah. I'm curious how long this episode is going to be. I won't know till I put it all together, but I know our 2 feature interviews alone takes us to about an hour and a half, which is above what most regular podcasts are. But
this is crazy because our record time is less than 2 hours.
Yes,
which is crazy for us, and we started.
We're finished before midnight as well.
Yeah, this is not a 2-day recording for us.
No,
like usual.
It's fantastic. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one. We'll be back with another episode soon, and we've got at least 1 good feature interview, possibly 2 coming up on the next show as well. And I've been busy sorting out some other interviews with some former Whitecaps players that are playing outside of North America. I hope to bring you those ones in the coming weeks as well. But until next time, as always, thanks for listening. Stay warm, everyone, and stay safe. And we'll be back with another episode soon. And Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.